Pizza time! Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Everything is Fine podcast. I'm your host, Sean Wilson.
And I'm your host, Matt Eversole.
You know, boys, I'm something of a host myself.
That's right, we have Conor back with us. We're back from another... God, it really is becoming way too common.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We're recording this in between both of those holidays. And after, sadly, an all too common another lapse in episodes and break, like we've said it before, we've given the same excuse, and we apologize for sounding like a broken record.
We had finals.
We had the last of our classes.
Sean gave his senior recital. He did a great job.
I had a senior recital. Don't go looking for it.
It was very good. It was very good.
But we now are completely in the clear. All of our classes are done. And for the next semester, we're actually going to try and give you regular uploads because guess what? We don't have classes anymore.
Woo.
So we can literally devote the little free time we're going to have going to what we're going to this. So
yes.
It's going to look a lot like last year during the spring. We're actually going to have videos either every week or every other week at minimum. But no more long, unscheduled hiatuses.
Famous last words.
Yeah, famous last words. We are back. We have ideas. And tonight, in honor of the biggest event to ever probably hit pop culture in the past decade, we are talking about Spider-Man.
You just put it above Endgame.
There's no way it's above Endgame.
It is, actually. But we'll get to that.
There's no way it's above Endgame in terms of hype.
We'll discuss that.
I don't think it is. I really don't. I know everyone was really excited for certain things.
Matt, you're wrong.
Hold on. It's not that... Okay, here's the thing. No Way Home. Endgame, people were hyped for the movie and seeing what was going to happen. Literally, this movie, 85% of the hype was solely around if two people were going to be in it. Not the actual movie itself.
That's fair, but it was the hype for
There's a difference.
two of the three greatest Spider-Men to ever grace
Two of the three only Spider-Men, you idiot.
There are hundreds of Spider-Men out there. We've had the Spider-Man on the silver screen before. We've had Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland.
Also, box office would state that I'm correct, but that's another story.
But we've also had the Spider-Verse, and we've had several other Spider-Men through the years. So of all the possible Spider-Man, which in fact there are 96 different versions of Spider-Man, just a little fun fact for you guys at home. Well, that's something I knew before IGN. But there of the 96 possible Spider-Men we could have gotten, we got these three. And we're here to talk about not just Tom Holland's Spider-Man, not just No Way Home, but the three Spider-Men of the last 20 years.
Four.
And Miles Morales.
The actual best.
The actual best one. But I think a great way to start our little discussion on all things Spider-Man, I will ask the two of you gentlemen, what was your first encounter with Spider-Man?
It was Spider-Man 1. It was Tobey Maguire.
Yep.
Well, no, it wasn't.
No, I'm talking go way back.
Yeah, no, I guess it was the 90s cartoon.
90s cartoon?
Yeah.
Very excellent.
My brother watched the 90s cartoon a lot. I did not personally,
90s?
although...
Was it 90s or 2000s?
It was 90s.
It was in the 90s, yeah. My uncle, though, is a massive Spider-Man fan, and I would sometimes read some of his comic books when I went over to his house. He has a massive collection. And Spider-Man has always been my favorite superhero. It's honestly not even close, especially Marvel-wise. The only superhero that comes close would probably be Batman. But, like, for Marvel superheroes,
wow,
it's
you
Spider-Man.
the most popular on both sides.
Wow, yeah. I mean...
Wow, so basic.
Wow.
Oh, shut your
I mean,
face.
Spider-Man is, I believe... what is your favorite superhero Spider-Man?
No, my
Green
favorite
Arrow?
superhero is Green Arrow.
It's Green Arrow, you're
My
right.
favorite Marvel hero is Daredevil.
Daredevil. I knew that.
Interesting.
I will say Spider-Man has been my favorite superhero ever since I was a child. But I also have weird taste in superheroes. Like,
Honestly, one of my first encounters with Spider-Man might have been the ride at Universal Studios. I'm not joking.
That's funny.
That ride at Universal is
Also,
fantastic.
That's very, very fitting for you.
Yeah.
My dad and I would watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Also, they would run repeats.
The good reruns of that one.
Yeah.
That was very
Also,
good.
action figures and toys.
Well, yeah, as well.
Yeah.
Of course.
But in terms of like actual first encounter, like getting really into the stories, it'd be the comics, and it'd be Toby.
Were either of you? I'm curious. Were either of you ever Spider-Man for Halloween as a kid?
No, I was not. No,
I was.
I was actually Wolverine, who's also
That's
up high up
interesting.
there. I was Wolverine for Halloween one year.
I was Wolverine as well.
I was
Spider-Man.
I was
the
Spider-Man.
yellow and blue suit.
No, I tried to dress up as Hugh Jackman.
See, I did the comics yellow and blue suit. It was very, very exciting.
I believe I was Spider-Man when I was 5 or 6 years old. For Halloween, it's like early Halloween, like Any kid could be
No,
Spider-Man.
I just never was a big Spider-Man fan.
Oh, I've always been in love with Spider-Man. But
Spidey's my most.
I watched the '90s cartoon. I watched a little bit of Spidey and his amazing friends.
I like him a lot more now than I did.
I had the silly string web shooters.
I mean, you want to know the reason why Spider-Man and Batman are my favorite superheroes? It's because I don't even think it's deniable. They have the best villains.
Yes.
True.
It's not even close.
They do have
It's
some
not
of the
even
best
close.
villains
and,
in comic book
and
history.
a story is only as good as its villain, as we explored in our
Well, they have their own
episode.
universes. I mean, Spider-Man
Yeah.
is New York and Batman is Gotham, and you could have your own cinematic universe in each.
Yeah.
I really didn't like Tom Holland at first because he was part of something that wasn't just New York. And I was like, oh, there's so much to go. Spider-Man has so many villains, and he doesn't need Thanos.
It was a very bizarre move from Marvel to just say, oh, by the way, in Civil War, here's Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was odd.
Like,
It's whatever.
really cool reveal in the theater, seeing it the first time, but then you kind of think about it, and you're like, wait a
Spider-Man
second.
and Batman are each like companies' golden child. I mean, I don't think it's Superman anymore. I think it's Batman.
Absolutely, yeah.
Superman has had one too many like hiccups in the production.
It's had so many misfires with the portrayals of it, because I know you love Man of Steel, but I think the general consensus
Way
is
too
that
much.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
It had
the
its
ideal
problems.
Superman for the majority of the masses.
Man of Steel was good. It's just it wasn't everyone's Superman.
Yeah, but Spider-Man, on the other hand,
Spider-Man is a hero.
Spider-Man and Batman are very.
They're very easy to get right.
Well,
they're
it's
also
funny
very
to
easy to
think
get
because
wrong.
it took about 15 years for them to get Spider-Man right.
that's such
Well,
a
that is mean.
stop. Oh
Um,
my god, they got Spider-Man right from minute one.
Spider-Man has never been wrong. That's the difference. Batman's definitely had some weird ones.
I don't think Spider-Man had a good film until Homecoming.
That is so
bad.
mean.
Hello, everyone. I'm back.
Oh my
God.
god.
Yeah, we didn't miss you.
This is good though, because a lot of the viewers always disagree with me. Now I feel like a lot of people are going to disagree with me.
Yeah. I have never disliked a Spider-Man movie.
Oh, I have, but
Now, the Spider-Man
You're
films
being
that are
very
bad,
harsh.
in my opinion, are not the Star Wars prequels. They are watchable and
We can't
enjoyable
escape it.
films, but I think that they couldn't get Spider-Man right until Holland came around.
I'm quite
And
the
even
opposite.
then, they couldn't really get Spider-Man right. I mean, until recently, is what I mean.
I'm gonna say the complete opposite thing. I never think they've gotten Spider-Man so painfully wrong that it's no longer Spider-Man. It's hard. No, absolutely not. I think that you can definitely have some weird Spider-Man out there.
Spider-Man 1.
That is so mean. Look,
well, actually, no. That I kind of agree with.
here's the thing with being
We're gonna get
Spider-Man.
there.
The thing with the Amazing Spider-Man
I thought you
1,
were referring to the Raimi films, and I would have
the
pushed you.
thing with the Amazing Spider-Man 1, and we'll get into this more later. We'll probably
So
go
horribly
chronologically.
I want to go chronologically. Yes.
That is a bad Peter Parker. That is a really
No.
fun
We are
Spider-Man.
hey, whoa. We are jumping too far ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Siri.
I
You
want
might
to
be wondering how we got here.
I want to talk first about 2002, when the first Spider-Man movie came out. I was not old enough to see this in theaters, obviously. In fact, I think the first Spider-Man movie I saw in theaters, I did see Spider-Man 3 in theaters. But I remember having seen Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 on DVD, on repeat. Bringing those two movies in the car were some of my brother and I's favorite things to do on long road trips. We'd always rewatch those movies. It was ridiculous. And watching that movie for the first time, that was, for better or worse, obviously worse for in Conor's sense, for better or worse, that was Spider-Man to me on the big screen for the longest time. Now, Tobey Maguire, in similarity to Conor, has actually been passed, in my opinion, by Tom Holland in terms of who I view as the best actor to portray Spider-Man. But that is taking nothing away from Tobey, because I still think he killed it in the original trilogy. But I know you both have differing opinions. So what is your opinion on the first 2002 Spider-Man film?
The first Spider-Man, I love it.
Thank you! Yes!
I love the first Spider-Man movie. I love them all. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be the golden retriever of the episode. Like I said, I've never found complete dislike in a Spider-Man movie. Any of them. Any of the 9. I have been more pleased by others, and even those I have my gripes with, the ones I think are better. But
Sean's so nice.
No film is perfect.
I really love Spider-Man.
I know.
Spider-Man can do no wrong in my eyes. That's the problem.
See, now, but that's the thing. You like Spider-Man so much that you can't not like a Spider-Man movie, whereas I, and I guess Conor as well, like Spider-Man to the point where we're
Are
almost
heartless.
very critical.
You are heartless.
No, but we have a certain thing
Well,
that
Connor's
we want
heartless.
to see portrayed. And there are really, in my opinion, 3 of the 9 major Spider-Man theatrical releases, there are only 3 that I would deem not good. There are 3. I like 6 of the 9, which is pretty high praise in my opinion.
I wouldn't even say that the ones on I wouldn't even say the ones at the bottom of my list I dislike are bad. I mean, they have problems.
But you like 2002 Spider-Man.
I like 2002 Spider-Man.
Okay.
It's cute. It's funny. There's something about
Also,
Tobey Maguire.
if you're wondering why I keep calling it that, it's because it's a pet peeve of mine to call things Spider-Man 1 or like whatever 1, because that's not the name of the movie.
2002 Spider-Man. There's something about how Tobey Maguire portrays Peter Parker / Spider-Man in the film. He gets the quirkiness. He gets the awkward Peter Parker really right. The problem is he also looks 30. So like
he was 26.
That's the one disconnect I have.
At least everyone else in the movie
looks
is a
30
similar age. Because there are some movies where I'm not naming names, but Dear Evan Hansen, where Ben Platt is 30 years old and everyone else around him is high school. At least in this movie, you just have to like suspend your Twilight 2. Like those people don't look like high schoolers.
Yeah. I think one of the first scenes in Spider-Man 2002, right, is when he gets bit, and they're on a field trip. Him and his 30-year-old high school friends, and the teacher walks up and is like telling them to quiet down, and the teacher visibly looks younger than his students.
Yeah, which is a problem.
Which is
that's a real problem.
I think that the charm is there. All of the 3 Tobey Spider-Man films, they have the. I see them like if you compare Spider-Man and Batman, these are the Clooney movies.
No. No.
Okay, that's a little mean.
No, absolutely not.
They're cheesy and they embrace the cheesiness.
You're on to something, but I feel like saying they're the Clooney movies is a bit rough.
See, I don't see them as cheesy.
Like just put nipples on Spider-Man's suit.
They're
They're
not
fun as hell.
They're fun.
So is Batman versus.
No, those are bad movies.
Now listen. Calm it down. I think that you're on the right track. They're very campy.
Yes.
They're very comic
but
book.
on purpose. It's not like they did it
They're
by
trying
accident.
to play to the campiness of comic books,
Yeah.
and they do that very well. Like, I think that Tobey Maguire pulls off a very comic book feeling Spider-Man.
He does.
He pulls and I'm talking
not human.
I'm talking action comics, not 90s new wave
Definitely aliens.
epic story-driven
God.
comic. I'm saying he's pulling off a early age of comics. It's here to be goofy and fun and watch the hero beat the bad guy. That kind of campiness. It brings a 1960s comics era to the film.
Yeah, even like the dialogue itself is like comic book.
Oh, it's very comic book.
Which it's a
like
cool
that.
style. Yeah, no, I like it.
That's
I do
a
like it.
praise. I'm saying that like it's a praise.
Yes, and here's the thing. I like when a director takes a project and
style.
puts his style and his spin on it.
Like Zack Snyder.
When you watch, you ruined it.
Get out!
You ruined it. When you watch this movie, it feels like a Sam Raimi film. It has that almost like
For better or worse.
Shut
No,
up.
I agree with you. It's like Zack
Sam
Snyder.
Raimi
You either
has
love it or hate it.
that quirky, like over the top, really going for it style where it's in your face. And also, I love the way that this movie portrays Peter Parker. I think he's actually a really good character in this movie. You can disagree with that, but I think it nailed Peter Parker, and I really think it nailed Norman Osborn. I love Willem Dafoe in this movie.
That is something I think we can all agree on. Is Norman Osborn is excellent.
Now
Willem
there are
Dafoe
times
is
where
great.
he's unironically funny, but like
Talk about remember the Star Wars prequels again. Every second of these films it's a meme. And
Well,
I think which
memes.
trilogy has more memes in them? It's kind of hard.
No, the prequels absolutely.
The prequels
Really?
absolutely
I
have
don't
more
know.
memes.
I would
But
say
it's close. It's
I
a close
enjoy
race.
watching the Maguire trilogy because
It's fun.
it's funny as hell.
It's fun. It's
no,
fun.
they're really, really fun movies, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't.
No, I don't. I don't either. I don't
I
think
think the
again
first
these aren't the
Spider-Man's
worst
great.
films either because I can watch them and I love watching them.
Yeah.
Because they are hilarious.
But
When it comes to Spider-Man, I don't think they get Spider-Man right. I'm not even sure if they get Peter right. Peter is at least dorky in this. He reminds me of the 90s cartoon Peter Parker in this. Especially because he just shoots webs out of his wrist.
He got like the full bio enhancement.
But the
Spider-Man.
supporting cast is like god-awful.
in this movie,
Aside from my favorite character of the trilogy, James Franco's Harry
Yeah,
Osborn.
there we go.
Who's an awful actor in this trilogy. But
he's so
it's fun.
But it's like a boomerang. He's so bad. He's good.
Kristen Dunst is the worst, and I hate watching her in all of these movies. And I hate
So
her writing as well. Like Rami or
he's
Rami.
onto something.
Rami?
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, Raimi, he can't write women.
No.
He cannot to save his life.
That's just something you can't do in any of these
And
movies.
yeah, it's really bad.
I will say Mary Jane is very annoying in these movies, but she's the
She's
least
toxic in the
Mary
second
Jane
movie.
is bad in
she's
these
the
movies.
least
What are you
annoying
talking
in the
about?
first one.
Yes, that's true.
That's no. You want to know why she's least annoying in the first one? It's because her lines are so fucking bad that you can't even be mad at what she's saying. You're mad at how she's saying it.
No, they get worse.
But
I
her
agree.
dialogue
she's
is so
the
bad.
worst in Spider-Man 3.
She tries
I
to
would argue.
flirt. There's a scene where she tries to like kind of flirt with Peter, where he's like really laying on thick, and it's a little cute and dorky, and like he's kind of ham-fisting it. But after the whole really, really kind of cute and endearing speech he gives about how he's always loved watching her be an actress, even back as like grade school, she stops for a second, gives the like Debbie Ryan hair flip, and says, "You're taller than you look."
Yeah.
Like, that is not flirting. That's not something a real woman
Spider-Man
says.
is also the one film with the homophobic joke.
The cage match.
Toby's Peter is anti-gay.
That is a problem. It was New York in 2002 is a problem.
That is confirmed.
When you say it like that.
But like, no, it's during the cage match where like the Hulk
your husband
Hogan
made together for you?
Yeah, the Hulk Hogan rip-off wrestling character is like,
Played by the late great Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah. He was like, "I'm gonna throw you around the cage," and Spider-Man goes, "Nice outfit. Your husband make it for you." It's 2002.
Can't believe Toby.
Spider-Man.
Wow.
It's 2002.
But yeah, I do agree with you that the Green Goblin was good in this.
It was excellent.
He could have
He
been
was
better.
scary. He was intimidating.
He wasn't that scary. That's the thing.
I remember being creeped out watching it, even as an adult.
A kid, every single time it got to the end when they're fighting in that like abandoned like rubble, like all that other crap, Spider-Man gets his ass kicked.
Yes,
and it's scary.
Well, yeah, Spider-Man gets his ass kicked in every film.
Toby only, and then as soon as Goblin threatens Mary Jane, that's when Toby then turns on the jets and starts beating the shit out of Norman. Yeah. I love the ending of this movie,
except for the villain's death.
No,
they keep killing. Everyone was killed off in this trilogy.
That's a problem. I agree with you.
But if they hadn't killed off Norman in this movie, then Harry couldn't have been the villain in 3.
Yeah, I'll give it. Norman's death is the most okay of them all.
Yes.
I don't know.
This is just
Spider-Man solves a lot of problems with just like beating the other guy.
Yeah. Spider-Man
doesn't kill.
He doesn't kill him in this one. Yeah, it's a mistake.
No, he doesn't kill any of the villains.
Right, because but they all kill themselves.
They all kill. He lets them kill.
This is the first time it happens though, and it does set up Harry. Although they don't go anywhere.
Also,
with that.
I don't care about the cheesiness. I love it when they cut to that one shot of Willem Dafoe before the glider impales him. He goes, "Oh." And it impales them.
It's so good.
It's so good. And Godspeed, Spider-Man. It's just I love just the way that this movie just balls to the wall. Can we
also say that just J. Jonah Jameson is perfect?
Oh, Jake. Oh, he actually is the best character in the trilogy.
He's the best character.
Well, he's the most comic book accurate character ever.
He is the most well cast comic book character ever.
Bring me pictures of Spider-Man.
It's so good that they even brought him back into another Spider-Man universe before they even did the whole No Way Home thing.
Yeah.
He's that good. And his scenes consistently make me laugh on repeat viewings. It doesn't matter. No.
I should make that a ringtone.
Sarah, your wife's called. She says she lost her checkbook. Thanks for the good news.
Thanks for the good news. It's just, that's the thing. He's quick. He's so quick.
It's the line delivery.
Like, did you just get a rug? Your wife is asking, like, we just put a rug in the
meat.
Nice box of I think my biggest problem is
meat. There's a nice box of Christmas meat.
This movie doesn't do it the worst, but like again, like these movies don't like. It's similar to the Star Wars prequels, but I'm not convinced that these humans are real people.
No. But in this case, it's fine.
Which is like Spider-Man's probably the most popular comic book hero because he's so relatable as a person.
Yes.
I don't relate to Toby's life at all.
I see your point.
I do more so to...
Remember the old-fashioned comic book take?
Yeah, well, it was the 90s character take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was true to the 90s form.
And they are dated in the sense that, these still, like, very well popular. Like, newspapers aren't really a thing anymore.
Yeah, but, like, if you look at films that came out in that time, they weren't... Like, these movies feel like they are old.
Personally, I don't hold that against the movie, though. I take the movie for what it is, and I think it's a very fun... and
it's a fun little...
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
For the first live-action Spider-Man to grace the silver screen, it was a success. And
and there were awful Marvel movies that were coming around.
There were.
Like Daredevil, right? So it could have been much worse.
And I know a lot of people do like these movies, but overall, the Blade movies didn't really do that well. They didn't do that well.
They didn't do well, but they were good.
Cheesy. Elektra came around this time.
The only good ones out were X-Men.
Yeah. So Fox was really killing it, but Well, no, because they also made those other awful movies. So it was rare for a superhero film to do well.
It was the first movie to ever gross $100 million in opening weekend.
Yeah, these kind of remind me of the Superman films as well. Of like these are just campy.
Yeah. They're campy, they're comic book, but that was the whole.
But then we get to the actual best movie in the trilogy.
Yeah,
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2 is, I think, it's absolutely better than the first one.
Oh, it's 1,000 times better.
Yes.
Spider-Man
It's
2.
1,000 times better. I would give this one probably one number grade higher.
Fair.
Like in my opinion though, it is a better film because it understands the character of.
They
Peter
got the
very
groove going. They knew what they were doing. They had already stuff to work on, and there is not a step that is missed from Spider-Man to Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
It's
these
seamless.
first two movies are really.
Doc Ock as the main villain is amazing. Is well portrayed.
I know you disagree.
He's the best in the trilogy.
He's the best in the trilogy.
He's not. I don't think. Well, I mean, there's not a lot of competition when it comes to the movie villains. Is my opinion. I don't think a lot. I think a lot of the movie villains fall short of what they could have been.
Yes.
Including Doc Ock, because Doc Ock's really interesting because he's really a mentor and a friend of Peter's. He loves Peter, and he's a nice guy, and he wants to help humanity. In this case, when he turns evil, you don't really see that rage like you do in No Way Home. You just see he wants to do a science project and he'll rob a bank to do so. But he never, the actor doesn't really change in personality to me from when he has control and when he doesn't. That's really nitpicky though. I mean, he's still the best of the trilogy. And
Mary Jane sucks in the movie.
Mary Jane's worse. No surprise.
But no, I think Doc Ock. I really think they did a good job with him, and also I like pinpointing certain moments in the movie that I really like. Obviously, the scene in the hospital is a big standout. It's basically right out of Evil Dead, which is great.
More screaming women.
It's not the scene we thought we wanted, but it's the scene we love.
I also love the sequence in his apartment when he does the demonstration. I think it's actually really, really well made.
It's so comic booky in the case of here's this deadly science experiment. Everyone stand 10 feet away while I blow this apartment up. It's so funny.
Yeah. It's good. It's
so hilariously Spider-Man of I'm gonna fall into a pit of eels, kind of stupid.
Yes.
But
it's done in an endearing way.
It's not. It's stupid. It's stupid, but I don't care because it's a comic book movie. But standards are higher today of people being why the hell would you be doing this in your apartment?
Yeah.
Of course it goes wrong, and I think it's cute. It's really strange too. Harry's obsession. I know they set it up, but he gets saved by Spider-Man, and his line is "I have nothing now except Spider-Man," and it's he disgusted me or he embarrassed me by touching me. It's this Harry's character is now just this hatred for Spider-Man and oh.
Well, yeah,
but this movie, I think nails the whole because the scene when Peter decides to stop being Spider-Man, it's heartbreaking when he has that vision with Uncle Ben.
There's a theme in this movie. That's what's different from this in the first.
Yeah, no, it's good.
There's a character.
The first one was the origin of Spider-Man. This one is
because this movie
choosing to be Spider-Man.
This movie shows you with great power comes great responsibility, but do you actually want to do this?
Well, and relating to Spider-Man this is the only one in this trilogy where it happens because you're oh, this would suck. There's a lot going on here.
He's failing his classes.
He's
exhausted. He's tired.
The struggles of having lived a double life, and that's why I think
that's why everyone loves Spider-Man.
It's one of the biggest reliefs and one of the biggest sighs of just oh my god, thank goodness, is when MJ finally finds out at the end of the movie. You're just thank God. Now he doesn't have to explain
MJ is actively a bad.
Well, no, MJ's
a bad person.
No, MJ's a bad person, but at least Peter now doesn't have to explain everything.
She straight up got married to someone to make him jealous, and then ditched the man
I'm not denying
on
MJ
the day
sucks.
of her wedding.
Oh yeah, no, MJ is
I'm
the
not
worst
denying
she
MJ
has ever been.
No, she's worse than Spider-Man.
She's bad in Spider-Man.
No, she's the worst in 2, in my opinion.
You think?
She's worse in 2 because in Spider-Man 3 she's actually legitimately hurt.
Well, and how could you say no to Harry? Come on.
Yeah, I mean
James
that smile and that wink, that's enough.
Also, this movie has another great Sam Raimi
Train.
scene. No, the raindrops keep falling on my head scene.
Oh, okay.
That's a very
I
Raimi
love
scene.
that
Oh,
scene.
but the train scene is
the
like...
train.
But no, the train
scene.
scene, it's the best action sequence in any Spider-Man
No,
movie.
it's one of the best action sequences. I will say this though, I think that it's one of my personal favorite Spider-Man moments across all the different Spider-Man. One of, not the, but one of. It's like top 5. I'm a sucker for scenes like Carefully He's a Hero, when he's passed through the train car and they are like he's just a kid and they all stand in the way.
Well,
of
the big
Doc
moment
Ock.
there was he helps New York, but that was New York helping Spider-Man.
Yes,
Which
that's
was the coolest thing
I'm
to
a
happen ever.
sucker for that kind of thing in films or stories. So I watch that scene and I just kind of like I have that little moment where I smile and I get involved.
It's my favorite action set piece that's not a final battle
yes.
in any Spider-Man movie.
Oh, I disagree with that.
What's better?
We'll have to get to that.
Well, fair enough.
Sure, fair ugh.
But
no,
it's up there. I think
it's
that
fantastic.
Carefully He's a Hero is one of my favorite Spider-Man moments across all Spider-Man.
Not even just that, just literally as soon when they're fighting and they fall off that building and onto the train and they start fighting on the train and Spider-Man has to, they start crawling around the train and Spider-Man has to dodge everything. He gets on the streets to get back and then Doc Ock rips the brakes off, but then he has to stop the train. It's absolutely riveting. I love that scene. It is so, so good. And the action in this movie is 10 times better than it was in the first one. Because in the first one, a lot of CGI, kind of not good in hindsight. This movie, though, it's infinitely better. And this scene is a perfect example of how it's better. Because, man, I adore that. And then even the ending is pretty good, I think, as well. With Doc Ock and the final thing.
Power of the Sun in the palm of my hand.
Dying again.
Dying again.
Another dead villain.
Yeah, that is a problem. I will submit, having the villains die is not a Spider-Man thing to do.
Yeah.
Because he's the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He puts the villains behind bars. That's his whole thing.
But it nails the duality of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, how difficult that would be.
Oh,
Also,
absolutely.
Pizza Time is in this movie.
Pizza time.
So
I will
that's
say,
always
what's
a
unique?
plus.
Like a lot of people will agree that Toby plays a great Peter of being like a dork and struggling through life.
Yes.
But his Spider-Man
Spider-Man
lacks any
lacks
kind of energy.
Yeah. He's very much, it's
He
Peter
literally
Parker
will
in a
say
spandex.
lines to an enemy.
It's Peter Parker in spandex. That's what
Yeah.
his Spider-Man
Yeah,
feels
he's
like.
still a dork.
We wouldn't get Spider-Man through and through until a few years later, but he's very good at
Well,
being
that's where I
Peter
think
Parker.
That with Toby's, they've missed the mark on Spider-Man because when he puts the suit on, I think it's the worst part of the movies. I think the better parts of the movies are when Peter is.
Or when Peter is struggling. It's when Toby's Peter is about Peter, it's focused on Peter's
The
issues.
Spider-Man parts of the movies
it's
are kind of
better.
bad. That's just
They're
my-
not bad. They're just a little lackluster.
I think the action's not very
Like, they're
good.
good,
I
but
don't
they're
agree
not
with you
good
on the
enough.
train sequence. I like the train sequence when Peter is unconscious, when it's the Peter part. But when Spider-Man's fighting, it's like, okay.
Yeah, you kind of lose a little bit of it. But
I disagree.
I think that he's a great Peter Parker. I don't think he's the greatest holistic Spider-Man, but I think he's still a great portrayal of a Spider-Man. A Spider-Man.
I just appreciate the fact that the director clearly appreciates the source material.
Oh no,
understands the
that's
character
a
and
big
portrays it really well.
He tries his best. He does really well, and he cares, and he gets the style of the '90s, '60s comic book feel very well.
Sam Raimi understood the character very well, and I think Spider-Man 2 is the perfect example of how. Because I think it's really, really good.
But then we got
Then we got Sony being very much so wanting to get their little hands into Spider-Man projects and try to, mess up everything. Because Sam Raimi
Sony made
has
Spider-Man 3?
said, yeah,
It was Fox.
no, it's Sony. All these are Sony. Columbia and Sony. Fox is X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
No, Sony and Columbia. Sam
Oh, you're
Raimi.
right.
Sam Raimi has said that Spider-Man 3, Sandman was supposed to be the main villain. That was supposed to be the main story. And Harry Osborn's subplot, sub-story throughout these whole 3 movies, that also would have been resolved in the movie. That was supposed to be it.
Harry should have been
Sony-
the main villain here.
I understand that, but Sam Raimi at least said, okay, Sandman's going to be the main villain, and the whole Harry overarching thing, that will also be wrapped up. Cool, done. Sony said, by the way, can you include Venom? And Sam Raimi said, no, I don't want to do that because he didn't want to include any villains. This is a quote from him. He didn't want to include any villains that he himself did not understand. Because the only reason he included Goblin, Doc Ock, and Sandman is because they were villains he knew, he understood, and he knew that he could portray in a very respectful way to the character. He did not understand Venom. He admits it. and Sony made him put him in the movie.
Venom
anyway.
was also much newer.
So between that, along with all the other subplots that go with Venom, being the symbiote stuff in the beginning and Black Suit, before Venom even shows up, and also the Eddie Brock, Gwen Stacy stuff, was not supposed to be in this movie. And that's the part of the movie people don't like.
I didn't know
the
that.
fact that it's so crammed.
I didn't know that, but why would he want to go with Sandman here when he set up 2 films for
There's
Harry?
a video online about the failings of Spider-Man 4. It's a really great video. I forget the creator of the video, whoever made it. But it's like a 15-minute video essay. It goes over the failed production of the potential Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Because it talks about how Raimi was so upset about Spider-Man 3 and talks about why. And then it goes into what was supposed to be in Spider-Man 4 because Raimi wanted to do Vulture in Spider-Man 4. And he would have done that. And when he said, I want to make this the best Spider-Man movie ever. And I want to just completely make up for the failing that was Spider-Man 3.
Never got a chance.
And he never got a chance to do it. But he said himself he didn't want to do Venom at all, but the studio forced him to.
I think Venom was the weakest here, although Sandman was not a good villain in Spider-Man 3.
Well, it's Sandman had potential to be. It's just he didn't have enough
his
time.
character was so like flat.
Well, it's because they were focused so much on
Venom.
the symbiote stuff,
Yeah.
and that Sandman was just kind of thrown away. Sandman,
But I think
had
both of
potential
them
to
are
be really
irrelevant.
good.
You set up 2 films for Harry to be a villain here, and Harry is a joke in this movie.
I mean, the amnesia thing is bad.
The amnesia plot is really bad.
The whole point of Spider-Man 3 that everyone hates, and what I hate about it too, and it's similar to what we're going to talk about in another movie coming up.
Being crammed.
There's too much in it.
Yeah.
It's trying to be a Venom movie. It's trying to do symbiote. It's trying to do Sandman. It's trying to wrap up the Harry stuff. It's also trying to wrap up some Peter and MJ drama.
Yeah.
It's like
It's doing everything.
There's Gwen Stacy is in this movie.
And
why?
like the whole Bully Maguire sequence.
I will
and
point
fall.
out, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man pulled the most women of all 3.
Yeah,
which is
he did.
hilarious.
He did.
But it's just there's
He's
too much
also
going
got the
on in
Russian
movie.
girl.
No.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted him.
No, this movie is so zany and so off the wall. But I will say,
And the newspaper girl. Oh my god.
I will say this movie still feels like it's part. It doesn't go too off the rails where it doesn't feel like the first 2. They definitely feel
the
like a
style
trilogy.
is there for sure, yeah.
It definitely feels like it's still a trilogy, and you could watch it. But like, man, this one tried to be way too much.
Yeah.
Because they could have.
You could feel the studio fingers.
Because they could have done a thing where they could have done Sandman and they could have wrapped up Harry in this movie, or they could have just made Harry the main villain.
There you go.
And at the end of the movie, they could have had Peter, maybe like, I don't know, they could have hinted at the rage within Peter throughout this movie, and then that could have hinted
Symbiote.
towards Symbiote and Black Suit in Spider-Man 4, which they could have then done Venom,
Yes.
which would have been great.
But we never would have gotten Garfield, though.
Well, yeah, because the only reason because they didn't want to do
Some
Spider-Man 4.
evils
The
are
writers.
necessary.
Because Sony was too caught up with the fact that Spider-Man 3 was so hated,
Yeah.
and they were so done with Raimi. Because Raimi had been working on... Spider-Man 4 was supposed to come out in, I believe, 2011, had all things gone well. Which means that he would have been working on Spider-Man for almost 10 years now. Which is a
What year
long
did
time to
Spider-Man
work on a
3 come
project. 07.
So the issue there, too, what year did Iron Man come out?
Oh, wait.
Right. So there's a change in tone of, like, superhero movies cannot be cheesy.
Yeah.
Superhero movies can be good, and then they're like, yeah, we can't keep Rami on and
Yeah.
keep that style.
yeah,
People
so-
are going to make fun of you.
But I recommend to all of our viewers, all of our listeners, go watch the Spider-Man 4 video on YouTube. I'm going to look it up right now to figure out.
Well, while you look it up, Spider-Man 3 was a mixed bag. It had a lot of
It's a YouTube video by a channel called Cut Short, and it's called The Untold Story of Sam Raimi's Canceled Spider-Man 4. I highly recommend watching that video. It is very revealing on what went behind
But
it.
Spider-Man 3 was a mixed bag of some good, some bad, mostly bad, to be honest.
it's Colleen's favorite, because it is the funniest.
It is the funniest because of it being so bad. But
It's
like,
the famous
yeah,
parts
Now
of
dig on
Toby
this.
being,
Now
Toby
dig on
being
this.
evil.
it's just so comically bad though. But that's what makes it
Get your
still
rent when you
endearing.
fix this damn door!
Okay, to be fair, he had a point there though. Like he had.
No,
a
this
point.
movie is a mess. That's my biggest...
It's a mess.
That is the one word I can use. It's a
But-
mess.
But out of the mess came a new Spider-Man.
Well,
The
I'm not
greatest.
I'm not done with this movie yet. Hold on.
Okay,
I
never
want to
mind.
just quickly say one other thing. It's a mess, but there are some things I still like in the movie. I think there are some scenes that I love. Black Suit Spider-Man versus Sandman in the subway. I like that sequence. Granted,
That's good.
He murders Sandman at the end, but like it's still really cool. I like that shot. Also, I like Harry and Peter teaming up. That was really the first time we saw superheroes like team up. Think about it.
X-Men.
That weren't in it. Okay, no, I'm talking. Like,
they were assigned to.
They were assigned to team. I'm talking like two.
This was
superheroes
free will.
I
deciding
didn't care
to, like,
about James
team up.
Franco on a snowboard. I'm sorry. That was not Hobgoblin.
That was your mistake.
It was a cool moment seeing them work together.
No, Harry was an absolute joke in this movie. From the moment his head went bong.
Can I just say one thing? He gets a lot of hate for this movie. I actually kind of don't mind. In fact, I actually kind of enjoy Topher Grace's portrayal of Eddie Brock.
Oh my god. Oh shit.
He portrays the jerk, selfish sort of vibe. Once he becomes Venom, he becomes ridiculous. But I actually kind of like him as just the dick reporter.
He wasn't even a dick reporter. He was a kiss-ass reporter.
I also can't...
That was cool, though, because it's a foil of Peter.
But the whole thing is, Eddie Brock is traditionally supposed to be this broad-shouldered jarhead who's like, get out of my way, loser. I got the best pictures.
So do you want it to be exactly like the comics, or you want to do something different?
Well, I mean, I kind of wanted this versus the kiss-ass.
Eddie.
Because how can you have that kind of like, anything for you, boss, and then put him in the Venom suit?
No, it was stupid, but I like it.
It was like if an incel got the suit.
I enjoyed his take on
Literally, it was an incel that got the suit. Describe
now
that.
The girls will
you know
like
what?
me.
Okay, fine.
Describe that Eddie Brock as anything else other than incel, and you can't do
it. Maybe you're all against me, but I'm just saying, I enjoyed parts of his performance as just Eddie Brock.
I didn't enjoy a single character in this movie. I couldn't take Toby seriously when he was angry.
I just want to walk you through this. This Eddie Brock went to church after he got fired. He stared
as soon as that scene starts, he's dumb.
He stared at the rosary with Christ on the cross and said, God, I only have one favor to ask you. Please kill Peter Parker. I'm like, damn, that is not right.
But that's it. That's a critique.
I don't even like going to church, and that's wrong.
But that's a critique on the writing. I'm saying I didn't mind Topher Grace.
Oh, the actor.
Yeah, no. Topher Grace did the best he could with the garbage he was handed.
Yeah, I'm not saying the writing was. I'm not saying the writing.
Sorry, maybe I got a little too.
I liked his portrayal of what they were going for. I feel like he actually was kind of entertaining.
He did the best with what he had. He just
once
didn't have much.
Once he becomes Venom, he's ridiculous. But as just Eddie Brock,
I
actually don't mind him.
I don't know. I can't. I mean, I definitely.
I think with this movie, I didn't like anyone. Except for J. Jonah Jameson. I want pictures of Spider-Man on my desk. I didn't even like Harry in this because he just became an absolute joke.
But
So
we got the iconic.
But again, hilarious.
Everyone
was hilarious.
He literally hit his head and forgot the previous two movies.
Like all of that build-up, which I thought they were like doing a great job with, other than 2 being cringe. It was like let's delete that and then let's have him do it again in the same film.
But again, I will say, this movie, I can watch
do it again. I wasn't looking.
But again, as Colleen said, you can watch the movie and have fun.
So much. This is probably one of the most fun Spider-Man movies ever. Because if I had to sit down and watch any of them with friends, I'm watching this one.
Because we're gonna laugh and make jokes about it.
Oh yeah, it's so funny.
Let's get drunk.
And that's where I disagree with you
on
and watch Star Wars. I don't actually enjoy those, but this one,
I don't actually enjoy.
This one,
but after Spider-Man 3, people didn't like it, and Spider-Man 4 never happened.
They said, we're going to try again, though, with a new Spider-Man, a new take, a new theme, a new setting.
And fresh off his Golden Globe nominated performance in the masterpiece, The Social Network, Andrew Garfield was cast in the role of Spider-Man.
Again, very old.
Yeah, older. Too old.
So the 2 first Spider-Man here are too old to be in high school.
Yes.
They both are in high school.
But it's funny.
It's kind of funny, but it's kind of like, why are we doing this?
Now, see, this movie was basically like, okay, so people are kind of not cool with the Raimi films anymore.
We need to make Spider-Man cool.
So let's just do everything the Raimi films didn't. Let's do web shooters, because people didn't like how they didn't have web shooters in the Raimi films.
Yeah.
Let's have him tell more jokes in one scene, but we'll get to that. Let's have him, make his own suit, and let's have it be shit. Oh, because, he's this, let's have him, they just tried to do everything that Raimi didn't do. And they forgot to make a movie that has any sort of style or voice of its own. It just feels like a product. At least the Raimi films have so much fucking personality, it's almost contagious. This movie is like I forget who's, I think it's the guy Chris Stuckman on YouTube. He said this movie is directed like an indie rock music video that stars someone that looks like Spider-Man.
Skeeter Boy.
It literally is just that. It has
skateboarder.
who directed this movie, Sean? You don't know.
No, I don't care.
And you don't care.
I didn't even answer.
Who directed it?
Now I'm completely flabbergasted. Fine.
It could be anybody.
Yeah,
Anyone could have directed this movie because it has
You didn't
no
give me any time.
voice behind it.
Well, that's the case for the Holland films as well. I don't care about the director's voice. It's an MCU film at that point. But, no, yeah, I agree. Sam's are the most distinct. Like, I know these are a thing.
These are a thing.
These are definitely flavorful.
The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, the Amazing Spider-Man is... It tried, but it missed a lot more. I will say this, though. I said this about Peter, not Peter. I said this about...
Do you like this movie?
I like this movie. I like the back half of it. The front half, where he's becoming Spider-Man, is a bit hard to handle. I like the montage where he's building the web shooters, and I like the montage where he's doing all the science experiments.
No, that's the thing. Everything.
I like all the Bing search result montage.
Yes,
that's
everything
kind of
in this
funny.
movie that
is a Bing
is
search.
a montage.
Yeah.
Everything in this movie is a montage.
But I will say this: there's a couple of things I do enjoy from the front. The front half of this movie is not that great because this Peter's a bit too edgy.
Okay, I actually like this Uncle Ben more. Hot take.
I like this Uncle. I agree.
No.
No. I agree.
Hot take.
This Uncle Ben is better. This Aunt May is better.
This Aunt May is the best in all of them.
That I will give you.
Yeah,
But I will not
love
give
this
you
Aunt-
Uncle Ben.
I love this Aunt May.
This Aunt May is the best, and this Uncle Ben is the best.
No,
And
Cliff Robertson, I really like his Uncle Ben.
I liked him. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying this one's better. But like,
Yeah.
I will say this: I don't like how edgy Peter Parker felt. I will
He's
say
not
this
edgy,
though.
Sean.
He's
He's
a
not
douche.
edgy. He's a douche.
He's a douchebag.
Literally.
He's a piece of shit.
All right, he's a piece of shit. I was trying to be nice.
He's literally not a good person.
I was trying to be nice.
And he's not a dork, and he's cool as hell. He's a skateboarder.
He's a douchebag.
He's not even the one getting bullied in the beginning because he's not a nerd.
He embarrasses Flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
It wasn't a nerd on a bully. It was two rival
And he
skater
stalks
bros.
Gwen Stacy.
He's cool and he's hot and he's like he's
He
essentially
plays every scene like he's hot.
no, he's essentially Harry from Rami's trilogy.
And did we not want to see more of Harry? You got
Harry
your
is
wish.
Spider-Man. So very probably the least accurate portrayal of Peter Parker.
I do not like Andrew Garfield's Peter.
Yeah.
Now
Also,
I will say this. I don't like Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker.
I know.
I love his Spider.
Now see here, I'm gonna just counter that with 2 points.
Okay.
First, the whole thing about how Tobey Maguire didn't tell jokes. I agree with that. Granted, he did tell jokes.
He
Just
did.
they were very
They weren't
just bad.
intentional.
They were just very sporadic. There was like
Eat
a
your green
few
vegetables.
Andrew
I'm gonna put
Garfield
some dirt in
Spider-Man
your
though
eye.
in this movie. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in this movie, there is one scene where he tells jokes. They put all the jokes in that one scene where he robs that car thief. After that, they stopped trying to do it.
Oh yeah, I don't think this movie was.
And
I don't think he was a good Spider-Man. In this.
secondly,
No.
I know that this
disagree
might
with
be this is not a critique on Andrew Garfield, but I can't say that this Spider-Man is like really good because this is unquestionably the worst Spider-Man suit ever.
Oh, this is true.
It looks like a basketball. It is horrible.
I
It
was gonna
definitely
talk
is
about-
a bit round.
It is so bad. It looked like the lacing on it. It looks like a basketball.
Yeah,
It's a little bad.
Terrible.
I think the
But he
number
made
one
it
reason
himself.
Which is weird because Amazing Spider-Man 2 has my favorite Spider-Man suit.
Oh no, it's Holland's.
No, it's Spider-Man 2.
It's
Amazing
Spider-Man 2.
2.
Spider-Man 2 is the best
Oh
suit.
yeah, sorry.
Amazing
Spider-Man 2 has the best Spider-Man suit ever.
But the first Amazing Spider-Man has by far the worst Spider-Man suit, and it's not even close. That suit is horrid.
You can tell that he did his best, but that's it. He did his best.
Yeah, but I like how he has web shooters now. But again, that's just another thing. It's course
Yes,
correction.
they show that he's smart in this because Toby was a big idiot.
Toby was a
Toby was not
dumbass.
scientific at all.
Toby was a dumbass.
They show that he's a smart inventor in this. He's quirky in that way. The reason that he's not a good Spider-Man in this, I think he's great in Amazing Spider-Man 2 as Spider-Man.
Yes.
In this,
There are moments, yeah.
in this, he becomes
he's
Spider-Man.
learning the ropes.
He becomes Spider-Man in this to get revenge on someone and to beat up people until he finds the right guy.
Yeah.
It is the least accurate Spider-Man ever.
Oh, no, it is.
Whoever wrote this film did not understand Spider-Man at all.
It is the least
Also-
accurate Spider-Man, but the redemption he has of when he realizes, okay, great power, great responsibility.
I will also say,
No,
I
he
should
did
be
that happened
helping
before,
people.
and then he just got vengeance.
and I'm sure, I think
I mean,
you'll,
after the vengeance.
And I think you'll agree with this, but I
And this is
also
coming to
I
fall,
also
isn't
hate the fact that they make his parents a subplot because Peter Parker's parents do not matter.
That's bad. I did disagree with that being a bad thing.
This is something that I know is bad, but I actually, in the first film, was like intrigued. This is a new idea,
Yes.
so this is not accurate at all, right? But making them, it was a strange decision because he has Ben and May. If he didn't have Ben and May, then I thought the parent subplot could be cool. Because I was actually intrigued as to like, okay, they changed the spider thing. He's related to Dr. Connors. They used to be partners, so I was actually intrigued by this. It wasn't until the second film that I was like, this is silly.
This is my huge comic book nerd brain regurgitating something for the both of you. But so actually, canonically, according to several different runs of the comics, and they actually did a whole side story of it in the early 2000s, I believe. So Peter Parker's parents actually were canonically members of S.H.I.E.L.D. They were besides being inventors, they were also spies for S.H.I.E.L.D. And that is a legitimate Marvel fact. You can go quote me on that.
Yeah, cool. I wasn't sure if that was necessary to include in this. So
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Like only hardcore nerds like me know that they were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. But they were actually S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They were chemists and spies.
Well, yeah, it's cool to know that though, but to put it in the film.
Oh, it wasn't necessary in the film.
Yeah.
But the comic book nerds out there know that I got you.
But this movie has also a lot of really dumb shit that I want to talk about. So the lizard in this movie.
I actually like the lizard more than a lot of Rami's villains.
I think,
Absolutely.
Wait. Real side note, just because
He has the worst plan. What is his plan?
It's so funny.
We'll go over his plan in a second. I just want to make a small note. I think I finally realized something there when I laughed and did my signature wheeze, which we've heard 1,000 times. I think, now that I'm thinking about that, I've done that for a long time. I think I've done that ever since I watched the original Spider-Man as a kid. I think maybe I have the wheeze from J.J.
Fair enough. But
maybe like 7-year-old Sean.
No, Lizard's plan is silly, but name a good plan any of the villains
hold on.
in Tobey's trilogy.
No. But like, here's the thing. So Dr. Connors in the movie wants to regrow his arm.
I want my arm back. That's his whole plan.
That is his thing. He's like, I want my arm.
It's as simple as that.
And he's trying. In fact, one of my favorite shots in the movie is when he's up against that mirror and it like shows like the reflection.
So cool.
It's really cool. Good job, Mark Webb, who by the way directed those movies. But you'll forget his name in 5 minutes.
Webb.
Basically, he wants to regrow his arm, and that's his whole character. Then he gets to regrow his arm, but it turns him into a lizard guy. And the movie then forgets how to write this character and has no idea what to do with him. So what is now his immediate plan? I want to turn all of New York into lizards. Why? Where did this come from? This actually makes no sense. At least with the Raimi films,
you can't ask
at least with the Raimi films, their plans.
No.
Okay, tell me why not.
It's goblins. You can think about Goblins' plan. Okay.
Well, that was Psychosis.
Dr. Ock has like a plan.
Doc Ock has a plan, but he was also controlled by nanobites.
The other three has no plan because they didn't have a plan.
Sandman doesn't have a personality to have a plan. Venom just wants to kill people.
I will say though, there is a subplot.
No, but Goblin had a plan.
There is a subplot,
but it was born out of Psychosis.
No. Yeah, no, but his plan was to get Peter to join him. And if you remember how he goes about that, it's hilarious.
It's really bad, but it was there.
But like,
is it like I'm gonna turn everyone into a lizard? No, but like that's just Lizard as a character. That's what he does. He wants to turn people into lizards. And the reasoning behind it is like we want to make everyone genetically superior. It's like if everyone's a lizard, they all have this.
I will say there is a subplot in this movie that I wish was
Yeah.
explored, and that is what happened to the police officers that actually did start turning into lizards, and then they cut away.
They released the antidote.
Yeah,
at the top of the building.
But they turned into lizards, and then the antidote doesn't get released for another like 10 minutes. What was going on down there?
Oh yeah, it's probably a horror.
I want a 10-minute short film called Lizard Cops, and I want to see what was going on the streets.
Can we get funding to shoot this movie
because
ourselves?
they started to turn into lizards.
Yeah,
but
it's a silly.
Also, Gwen Stacy is a horrendous character.
Oh, I love Gwen in these two.
No,
I disagree.
She has no character. She's just Gwen Stacy.
She's very good.
She is 10 times better than any
What
supporting character.
is her character in this movie?
She's 1,000 times.
She has two character traits. Yeah. She likes Peter Parker, and she can make a lizard antidote in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, she's like a scientist.
That's it.
She's something of a scientist.
Now I'm gonna meet you guys. I'm gonna meet you both in the middle. I think she's good. She's not as good as you say, but she's definitely better than MJ. So
way better. She's even better in 2.
She's a real person.
And they actually have they do have good chemistry in these 2 films.
MJ isn't a real person in Tobey Maguire.
The romance in this is by far better than it was with Kristen Dunst, if there was a romance in those movies. It felt like it was actually a teen.
It felt
teen
a little.
romance.
It felt kind of natural.
I don't like Gwen Stacy in these movies.
No, she's better than MJ. Would you rather have MJ?
No.
Well, okay, but like, I don't like either of them.
She's better than every supporting character in the Raimi trilogy.
Close.
The supporting characters in those movies are awful.
Close.
Oh,
You're very close. Gwen Stacy is so much better than MJ. I would watch.
Her lines are good. The dialogue in this make them feel like people.
Yes.
I actually really enjoyed Gwen's dad in this.
Yeah. Police Chief Stacy.
Yeah.
I love the scene.
The dinner scene.
The dinner scene
in Spider-Man in 2002. The dinner scene was great, and in this, the dinner scene.
The dinner scene is good for bad reasons in this one, but because it's way too. It's the one moment where you.
Also, I love the soundtrack in this movie.
Oh, the soundtracks are good across all of them.
Well, no Spider-Man theme will ever be as good as Danny Elfman's for the first one.
Oh, I love Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I love both of them. But no, I'm a sucker for the Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, but in terms of the movies,
Hans Zimmer did the best.
No, Danny Elfman in the first Spider.
They're
opening
ties.
credits.
I will listen to both of them. But no, I will say this about the dinner scene. The dinner scenes are good in this one as well. It's a little cringy the fight. Just of how quickly Peter Parker kind of almost reveals himself as Spider-Man. Like, maybe he's trying to help you. Maybe you'd be doing a better job. And then everyone gets mad at the dad, which everyone should have been mad at Parker for that. But I will God, what was I saying? No, I love the scene where Sergeant Stacy tries to unmask Spider-Man and he has the gun on him. He turns around, he's like, Parker? He's like, you have to let me go.
Yeah, it's
Your
good.
daughter is up there.
Sarge was great,
You
and that
have
was
to let
great
me go.
for an arc that led into the second film of telling, is it okay to tell people that you love? That was so cool.
His dying wish.
It's such
Toby
a
just kind of
good-
told
His
everyone.
dying wish is for Peter to leave Gwen alone, and then he goes back in the room. 5 minutes.
Yes, but he's punished for that. There's consequences for that I actually love.
Yes. More consequences in your movies, please. I'm
Yeah.
tired of media saying, oh, there's going to be no consequences for anything. That's why I like Spider-Man No Way Home, but we're getting to that later. But I want, no one's going to listen to this. No one's listening to this. That's important in Hollywood. But I want the next director that's out there that's listening to this stupid podcast, I want you to do one thing in your goddamn script. If you're going to kill someone, let them stay dead. If your hero goes through an arc where it's bad for them to do something and they do the bad thing, let the bad thing happen to them. Write some goddamn consequences into your script, and maybe, just maybe, you won't make a bad movie or a bad TV show or a bad finale or anything. I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones. Write your consequences to have actual consequences.
Rise of
Skywalker, Game of Thrones. Apparently the end of Wheel of Time. Spoilers for that. Blah, 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 blah. You get my point. Small rant over. I love the scene where Sergeant.
Yeah, he gets
Stacy.
right back with her.
Right back.
It seems silly at first, but he's and Holland's movies do this the best. Of when Spider-Man decides to have the best of both worlds, he's punished for it. Mm-hmm. You don't see that again in what I consider to be the worst movies. There's not consequences for anything he does because he doesn't really do anything that rash. It's just kind of like he's a hero. Yeah. In this case, Spider-Man's making mistakes.
And that's good.
With Garfield and
That
Holland.
is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is Amazing Spider-Man 1. Well, the Amazing Spider-Man. Then it's the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, which I have a special soft spot for. So
I agree. I have a special soft spot for it, too. A lot of people hate this film.
Yeah. For good reason.
For good reasons.
And it suffers from the same things that Spider-Man 3 did.
The parent plot is just kind of thrown in there and it doesn't go anywhere.
Well, every plot is thrown in there.
Every plot is thrown in there.
There's more going on in this movie than there's in Spider-Man 3.
There is.
The Osborn plot is not good. I hate this Harry. I do, as much as I love...
Oh, I didn't mind this Harry.
As much as I love Amazing Spider-Man 2,
horrible.
I hate this Harry.
I
liked this Harry
This
more.
is the same problem I have with Eddie Brock in Tobey Maguire's. It's an incel. He is an incel.
He's not an
in the
incel.
suit.
He
also tries
doesn't
to
care about women.
He's okay. He doesn't have the women part, but he's so edgy that it hurts. My eyeballs have lacerations when I'm watching.
Also, apparently they've been friends forever, but he's never once mentioned.
Yeah, so they do.
Yeah,
have to
where
shove
did
him
he
in.
go?
However, what I hated the most about Hollins is the lack of Harry Osborn because he's supposed to be pivotal in Peter Parker's life. So at least they included him here. Yes, they did have to retcon that they're good friends. They do the same thing in the PS4 Spider-Man. So I don't actually mind that. It's just like, okay, he was off on a trip. But it definitely was forced. But when he's there, I actually didn't mind Harry. He's a little bit more serious here, but it kind of makes more sense. You are taking over a billion-dollar corporation. Obviously, you're going to be a little stuck up and mean. And then he actually becomes the Hobgoblin in this instead of a guy on a snowboard. Yeah. And he actually, even more than the Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1, he's actually scary in this. He's messed up.
He's very messed up. I like it as soon as he goes through everything's wrong.
Yeah.
His final moments as Goblin are great. Everything leading up to that is just bad.
But this movie starts out with the first time ever seeing a Spider-Man that loves being Spider-Man.
Yeah, and that's so heartwarming.
Toby constantly hated his job.
Yes.
So did Andrew.
This is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, and this is probably the best portrayal of Spider-Man until No Way Home, in my opinion, or until the Spider-Verse. But
yes, you're right.
Like Sean said about the first, which I disagreed about the first Amazing Spider-Man, but in this one, when he has the mask on, that is my Spider-Man. Right?
That is my Spider-Man.
Like you said, the one scene in particular that I like in this movie is when he fixes that kid's window or something.
That scene, that is okay. Wait, no,
that scene is actually Spider-Man.
Let me have the floor. I want to talk about that scene and that scene alone for just 2 minutes. God, I love that scene so much. It's short. It's 90 seconds, right? Maybe. It's
shocked they didn't delete it from the movie.
It's
to add another Sinister Six scene.
There is a 90-second segment of this nerdy kid, probably in elementary school, that has his science fair project in his arms, and he's chased down an alley by a bunch of broad-shouldered, football jersey-wearing, bully kids, and they, smash his thing on the ground, and they're just a jerk to him, and Spider-Man drops down. It's like, you guys get somewhere to be? And they run, because they're like, oh shit, it's Spider-Man. We're doing something bad. They leave. And he bends down. He doesn't just chase the police off. He bends down and says, "You made this? This is a wind turbine. This is awesome." And he talks science with the kid. Yeah. He fixes it with his web shooters. He walks the kid back to school.
Right.
That's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
I think what makes this movie...
That is my Spider-Man.
I think what makes this film comparable to Spider-Man 3. They're both comparable because they're bad for the same reasons. But I think this one, I feel like there's a cut out there that is great. Whereas I don't think you can cut up Spider-Man 3 and get a good movie out of it. I think there are scenes in this film that are so good that if they just, focused the story, this could have been something fantastic.
Yes.
But you have that feeling of the Sony fingers in this, like they did in Spider-Man 3, that just ends up ruining things. But I feel like a lot of movies that are ruined by studios, there's a portion of this film that could have been so great.
Yes.
It's just the thing of this movie is trying
to do so much,
to do too much, and it forgot to just focus on being singular good movie. Because there are so many scenes
trying to set up a universe.
There are so many scenes where they're setting up more to go with his parents. They're setting up scenes with the Sinister Six.
They're trying to be the MCU.
Their Black Cat is in this movie. Why?
Yeah,
it's just,
why is she here?
Yeah, from Rogue One.
It's just, and also, fun fact. This movie has a total complete character that was cut out. Shailene Woodley was supposed to be Mary Jane Watson in this movie, and she is completely cut out. She was
that would have been an extra plot line we didn't need.
Deleted scenes. She was in the movie, and she was cut completely. This movie was just a clusterfuck in terms of
they should have cut more out.
There was too much going on. And I totally agree with you, Connor. There's a good movie in there somewhere.
I've never even liked Mary Jane as a character.
This movie is almost 2.5 hours long. And it still feels this rushed and this crammed. And also, a reason why I also really don't like this movie and why it's first of all, Rhino, what was that?
It was just something at the end, though. That wasn't really...
And the beginning.
Focus. The ending scene is another one of those moments, though, that's up there.
Yeah, I love that scene. Rhino's a joke, but the scene is great.
The Rhino is not the centerpiece of the ending scene.
I'm talking about Rhino in the beginning.
Rhino in the beginning is just a very, also,
I like in the beginning in the scene in the flashback when the dad is using a modern-day Sony laptop. That's a good scene.
Yes, Sony Bio.
Yeah.
No,
good stuff.
The Gwen Stacy speech at the very end is probably my favorite scene in a Spider-Man film.
Oh
Yes,
my God.
that's
What?
no.
Yeah.
No.
That speech
That
is
and
legendary.
The story and Into the
It
Spider-Verse.
it didn't hit because we barely had any time to grieve. It didn't
No,
hit.
it hit because we were.
Oh, I thought the
No.
scene was fine.
She dies. 10 minutes later, he's back. I'm like, okay.
Because he has to.
Well, they do it. They show that he's
Also, me
definitely out of
personally-
work for a few months.
Also, me personally, I just never really cared about this iteration of Spider-Man and Gwen. Like, I know.
Oh, I thought him and Gwen were so
I
much
thought
better
him
in
and-
this.
Yes.
No,
And he
Gwen
actually-
Stacy's an absolute idiot in this movie.
Oh no, I loved her. in
She's
this.
an idiot.
She's
She's
a
like,
little-
oh, I want to make all my decisions for me, Peter.
Yes.
Because again, MJ, damsel in distress in all the 3 movies. So what's this movie?
Yes,
You know what?
she's
We're
in
just
there.
gonna have Gwen be there, and she's just gonna do everything.
She's
an
definitely-
idiot.
She's definitely a little brash.
So when she
but she's not
dies,
an
I'm
idiot.
like, I feel bad for Peter, but like, Gwen, you're an absolute moron. Why the hell were you here?
No, but
No.
that's just her.
That's just
she
her.
wants to help people actively.
and there's a reason there.
But
there's
she's
a,
a moron.
There's a reason.
It'd be like me, just like walking into a war zone.
There's a reason.
Well, that's what
so
Spider-Man.
many.
It was a theme though of like even if you can't, you still try. So like that was what
Yes.
Gwen was doing.
And Gwen's personality.
she's like
is-
her dad.
Gwen's personality is very much like that version of Gwen. If anything, proves that's why there are Spider Gwens in other universes. That's the kind of person she is.
I liked her.
If she also got a spider bite, she would do the exact
she
same
did
thing.
things that were dumb, but I think that was just in her character.
That was in her character. It's like, I'm so smart, I can
She
help.
was willing to die.
I'm willing to
Yeah.
die to help Peter. I'm willing to die to help Spider-Man. That was her loyalty and her
Not to help
care.
Spider-Man, to help people.
Well, help people. It was her loyalty and her kindness that made her act that way, and it did get her killed, which is a shame. But I think
But
they
it
did
would have happened,
well.
and that's what he learned at the end.
Yes.
Like you couldn't stop Gwen from being Gwen.
Yes, and yes, there's a little montage where it shows he's definitely not Spider-Man for a while. He like takes.
Because
a few
she's
months
actually
off.
for the first time a supporting character as an individual in this film.
Yes. He takes a few months off to grieve, and when New York becomes crime infested again, it takes him seeing
It's
the
it's Aunt May.
It's Aunt May that gives him the speech, but he finds this moment as he, like, the first day he puts on the Spider-Man suit. What does he see as he's swinging around the city? Rhino's back in some sort of crazy ass war mech, which is a joke. The Rhino suit is a joke in this
No, but
one.
it's the kid with the
But
it's so
the
good.
kid, I'm gonna say
again.
like if I mentioned my favorite, one of my favorite Spider-Man scenes in Tobey Maguire was the train scene. Out of these movies, as far as like the heartfelt impact of what Spider-Man is, it is the child that runs out in the Spider-Man costume to stand up against Rhino. He knows he's not Spider-Man. He knows he's gonna die. He knows that this is a bad thing, but someone needs to be Spider-Man, and even this kid knows that.
Yeah.
So when you hear the "Hey Spider-Man" and you turn around and there he is, he's back, and he gets up on the car with the bullhorn. Like, so you want me to come in there and kill you? And he jumps into office or jumps into the fray, to the onslaught of it. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There he is. He's got a goofy looking suit, and this movie definitely was a shit show at some points. But there he is. There's my Spider-Man.
The movie just missed, both of these movies just missed the essence of, it just didn't sell me on Peter Parker. I think it just missed the tone. I didn't think that it did a good job of this movie of balancing everything. And by the time it got to the end, I understand like that scene by itself is cool. But when you take to the point of this whole movie is a gigantic disaster, leading up to that, I didn't care enough to feel that what you felt. I'm happy you enjoyed that scene. But when I first watched this movie and the movie ended, I felt very let down. Because I'm like, this movie's trying to sell that, like, this is this heroic moment. And throughout the whole movie, it's done nothing to sell me on this is a great rendition of the character because it's too focused on trying to do all this other shit.
Well, it's trying to set up a universe.
Yeah.
And it just didn't focus. So as good as that scene is isolated, when you take into account the entire film, I just didn't really care by the end. That it just didn't hit me on that level. Also, Electro's a fucking idiot.
Electro's bad.
That's just really, really bad.
Electro is so
and Electro's
bad.
one of my favorite villains in the comics.
He is
because of how
my
cool he is.
favorite soundtrack theme, though. I loved his intro. That mix of Hans Zimmer and the electronic producer.
Junkie XL.
Yeah, so good.
So epic for me.
It's
the scores to these movies are beautiful. Can we just say that?
Particularly is my favorite to this day.
They're both very beautiful. The both franchises of Tobey and Garfield are very beautiful.
And Michael Giacchino in the new ones is good too.
They're very good, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, but Hans did the best. I mean, it's Hans.
It's
He's gonna be
Hans.
the best.
No,
All
Danny-
hail Zimmer.
Not even close. Danny Elfman.
No, I think this is the one time I'm going to say that Hans.
You listen to that main title theme from Spider-Man, the first one,
and
you
your
tell
heart soars.
it's the best superhero theme.
This is the one
possibly
time
ever.
This is the one time I will say that Hans isn't the clear winner in something.
Musically,
He's not the winner at all.
I love Hans Zimmer to death, but these two films, I cannot listen to one. Every time I hear one of these themes, I go listen to the other immediately after, and vice versa. I love them both equally.
Cannot even remotely hum you the theme from this movie because I don't care.
When he says like, "I love being Spider-Man" in the beginning, it's that thing. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about You want to talk about the other good Spider-Man score? Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
That's the best. That's the combatant to Elfman, not Zimmer.
Well, and that's also one of my favorite scenes. It's the leap of
The Leap of Faith. Oh,
we're gonna get to that one though, the actual best Spider-Man movie. But for now, let's move on because they realized that Sony fucked up again with Spider-Man.
So they axed Garfield.
I was so angry.
I was upset.
This movie was about to do.
I was
something...
not upset that they nixed it because I expected
so
it. I was upset when I watched Amazing
was...
Spider-Man 2 because I knew they would do this.
I was very disappointed.
I was really angry because what the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man eventually does correctly is what I thought they were going to do with 3, which is Sinister Six, and like Spider-Man does not need to be in the Avengers. I hated that idea, and at first, like I hated Homecoming because it was Iron Man Jr. This is not Spider-Man. He's not in New York. It's not, or he is in New York, but it doesn't. It's like
it doesn't feel
Garfield
like
was just Spider-Man, and it had all the Spider-Man villains and the Spider-Man characters, and then it was like, here is a Tony Stark movie.
Yeah.
With Spider-Man.
Yes.
And I hated it. Looking back, though, I love this movie.
I will say this. My original thought, like, when Civil War came out, you all know me, I'm not a big fan of Civil War.
Yeah.
When Spider-Man jumped on the screen, though, that was the high point of the movie for me.
Well, that was the most...
Yeah.
As soon as Tom Holland shows up in that movie, not even as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker.
Yep.
When Tony is in the apartment...
Right away, this is the best actor for
You're
Spider-Man.
just like, immediately I'm like,
that's Peter
there
Parker.
he is. I'm like,
that's what Peter Parker should
I'm gonna
look
be
like.
honest.
That's what Peter
I'm going to be
Parker
100% honest. All the stuff you said about Andrew Garfield, I'm so happy you like that portrayal. But up from Spider-Man 2, from 2004, I did not personally connect with any portrayal of Spider-Man until I saw Tom Holland's Civil War.
Okay.
Because Andrew Garfield in those movies, it's not him, it's the writing.
There's no wrong answer here.
Yeah, I know.
No, but he was so perfect. Introduced.
Oh yeah, the way he looks in his room talking with Stark.
When he's just like quipping and all that stuff with Tony, it's just
That's
so good.
You can see that the foundation
And
for Spider-Man is there.
And my immediate thought out of Civil War was, one, what a great movie, because yes, it's a great movie, shut up. And two,
boy.
I cannot wait to see what Tom Holland does with this character
and when,
in his own solo movie.
When Spider-Man jumped on screen and caught Cap's shield, I lost it. I was like, he's back again.
Oh yeah, and when he just like
he's back.
When he beat Bucky with like no issue at all.
You have a metal arm? That is
That's
awesome,
so
dude.
good.
Like it's God, he's so good at that.
It was
and in
excellent.
Homecoming, the thing I like about Homecoming though is the thing, because I love this movie too.
I love it.
Homecoming to me is something different, and it felt so fresh because Amazing Spider-Man, my biggest gripe with that movie is it tells the same freaking story. Uncle Ben gets shot. We know that.
I was so happy they didn't
I was
have
glad.
Ben in this.
I was glad they
It's
didn't
the
do it
same
again.
thing told
I know.
worse.
Yes, it was.
So when they made this movie and everyone's like, it's too different, I'm like, okay, but that's what
Do you
want to
see Uncle Ben get shot again?
Literally, I love the fact that this movie kind of doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie that much. It feels like a high school film. And I love that. It feels like John Hughes directed this movie.
That was so good.
And I love that.
I like
and
that.
I know what you said about Harry not
And he looks
being...
like a high schooler this time.
That is the big pro.
And I know what you said about Harry not
Looks
being in these
young.
movies
I know.
is a criticism, but I will say, I love the character of Ned.
I did, but I just wish that it was Harry. I love
I understand
Ned
that, but like Ned is so
for being
much
an
fun.
original character, because Ned's not from anything.
No.
For being an original character, him and MJ, who is completely changed,
This
are better than they ever have been.
I will say.
Yes, he's better than Harry.
Zendaya is the
Zen-
best love interest. that any Spider-Man has had in live action.
Zendaya is the best live action portrayal of any love interest for Spider-Man.
Yes.
Also, Zendaya is the first ever comic, video game, TV show, cartoon, whatever. This is the first MJ that I've ever liked. I've never liked Mary Jane.
Yeah.
I've always loved Gwen Stacy way more than Mary Jane. And now
Although in this movie,
MJ.
she's not really a character because he likes this girl Liz.
Yeah,
for
she's
the
in
whole
the
movie.
background. The whole
She's
time.
in the background, and only at the end of the movie, it's kind of hinted that like, oh, maybe Peter and MJ. Like,
But yeah,
oh,
Ned is better than any of the Harrys
Ned
were.
is so much fun.
I
in
love
this
Harry
movie.
from the comic stories. I love his friend becoming his enemy.
Yes.
But you can't do that again. And to be fair, they hadn't at the same time they hadn't done it well yet. But Ned is actually a fantastic character.
Ned's fun.
And this movie
Ned
is
feels
funny.
fun.
This movie also portrays the whole thing about how Spider-Man being a student and trying to balance it. It'd be kind of crazy.
This movie is goddamn near perfect. Aside from, this is an Iron Man.
This is an Iron Man film. This is really great for an Iron Man film.
It's not though.
I think that but I mean they had to
It's
set
not.
up.
This
now
is
looking
an
back to
Iron
it,
Man
it's fine that
film
they did it because they got rid of that.
This
but-
is an Iron Man film
It's not
that
an
features Spider.
How? Tell me. How is it an Iron Man film?
It's Iron Man.
It's all MCU.
It's
so
all
it's like,
MCU
This isn't his
stuff.
New York. This is the Avengers New
It's
York,
Washington.
which they had to do. It's
Do you
the-
want to
it's
see the same thing again?
Yeah, I want. It's Spider-Man.
Do you want to see
want-
the same thing again?
I'm not saying I don't want to see the same thing again. I just don't want to also see
Tony.
Iron Man
Don't want to
here.
see Tony all the time.
Like that's
I don't want
cute.
to see Tony fucking Aunt May. And by the way, Aunt May is way too hot. in
Aunt
these
May
movies.
is not.
Again, do you want to see the same thing again?
No, okay. Aunt
I-
May is the best part of this trilogy. But not because of the writing. But Aunt May is fantastic in these films. And I'll stop there. But I tweeted recently that Happy is my favorite MCU character because of how relatable he
His
is.
priorities are
Because
straight.
he has sleep apnea like I do, and he's obsessed with Aunt May like I am. And I love him for that.
Aunt May is
Um,
definitely one of the
But yeah,
greatest
Tony
things to look at.
being in this was like, I understand why they had to do it looking back. When it first came out, I was really upset that Tony's in this all the time. Looking back,
He's not in it all the time.
he's in it
He's
too much. And
got-
like Spider-Man's
He's in
suit.
3 scenes.
Yeah, but Spider-Man's
That's-
suit is a
that's
Stark
He's
tech.
in the beginning. He's
Yeah,
in the
but
scene when he
it's
calls
also
him.
Stark tech.
Yeah, it's like throughout the whole thing.
It's Stark tech. It's Stark materials.
I
Reference
like
He's got an
that.
AI in
He
his
has
fucking
an
helmet.
AI. It's a spandex suit.
The kill mode. But part of the movie was saying that he needs to be able to be Spider-Man without the suit.
Yes.
That's where it was so good.
And that's what I wanted more of.
So, yeah. It ended up being like a near perfect
This
film.
is great. Take away the Stark tech and make it two
And
less
then he's
scenes
got, like,
of
the
Iron
hoodie.
Man.
Literally,
and I
my
love
favorite
that.
scene in the movie is with Iron Man. So like, you can't even.
Oh, no, I loved the ending. I loved him not killing a villain.
Yes.
Woo!
Finally, the non-lethal
no,
option.
my favorite scene in the movie. I like the ending, but my favorite scene in the movie is when, after the ferry thing happens, and Peter realizes he screwed up, and the Iron Man suit flies
Yeah.
down, and he thinks it's an empty suit, and Tony shows up. Yeah. That's such a good moment because Tony
was. It
is
was.
practically
It's a good moment.
his Uncle Ben without being Uncle Ben.
It's a
You
good
know, I'm
moment.
saying when I
for an
first
Iron
went
Man
into this, I was really upset that this was Tony and Stark Tech. But looking back, it was brilliant for a first film to introduce him into the MCU.
Yes.
And then the second film is more so the one I had problems with. But the third one, boy, it just makes up for everything. So, this
Homecoming.
this
is
is in my
funny.
top 10 MCU films ever. So
Also,
it's-
can I just say one thing, and you might disagree with me on this. I like Vulture in this movie a lot.
Oh, I love him.
I do too.
He's hilarious too in the car when he realizes
He's
it's him.
he's just a guy.
He's not really a bad guy.
No, he's not.
He's
And he
just
doesn't
doing-
want to kill Peter, but he will. He has to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's just a guy trying to do.
Yeah, I was
something for his
skeptical of
family.
they
Also,
made
Michael
Rhino.
Michael Keaton is almost like borderline
Yes.
likable and everything.
They made Rhino a machine. I was like, uh-oh, don't do that. So when I heard that Vulture was going to be a machine guy, I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be dumb. And again, I did it with Mysterio, which I really didn't like. They made a lot of his villains, because I think the cool aspect of The Amazing Spider-Man, too.
They're
other
all
than Rhino.
freaks of nature.
Well, no, it's supposed to Spider-Man's villains are supposed to be like biology scientists.
Yes.
It's like a biological superhero. So to make everyone kind of an Iron Man
Technology.
villain, because again, this guy and Mysterio, it's all Stark.
Kind of sorry. I'm
And I'm
tired
like,
of Stark
please
Tech.
stop. Which is why I love No Way Home, because the villain is so good. But the villains were good. The characters themselves. I was just like, why are we going the tech route? But it works. So it's
Yeah.
not. It's a nitpick.
This is Spider-Man. It just has a different mechanical engineering.
They're making it
component.
part of the universe, which they had to do.
Which, yeah, I'm glad he's part of the MCU, which means we'll see a lot more of Spider-Man. It's just like I'm glad where we are right now.
But yeah, when these were coming out up until like a month ago, I had not super loved these films because it's like Spider-Man is a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but now he's like fighting aliens
he's fighting
in space.
Thanos.
and I'm like,
Thanos.
but it's all been fixed.
It's been fixed, and we'll explain why later. But I enjoy Tom Holland. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he does a very good job of portraying the
He's
innocence.
the best by far.
I think he does the best job at doing both Peter and Spider-Man.
He's the best one.
Maguire is a great Peter Parker. Garfield is a great Spider-Man. Holland is the best at both. That is my take on him. These films
also, I
are
love
great.
the action in all these films and the choreography.
Oh yeah, the choreography. It's so well done.
Now, I have a question. Are we doing Holland's 3 in a row right now? Because technically the next Spider-Man in terms of chronological release date is Spider-Verse.
I was gonna jump to Spider-Verse, but
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I was gonna jump to Spider-Verse, and then we could jump back to No Way Home, and then the
Far From Home.
Okay, so Spider-Verse is a perfect film. 10 out of 10. That's it. There's nothing
There's
I would
nothing
change.
wrong with this film.
I think the definition of a perfect movie to me is I would change 0 things.
Agreed.
There you go.
There's nothing wrong with this film.
Yep.
There is. I mean that. I'm not going to use the word perfect.
Perfect. It's perfect.
I'm not going to use the word perfect.
What would you change?
I wouldn't change anything.
This
but
is
I'm not-
perfect.
Okay. But this is by far.
Empire Strikes Back. Perfect film. Wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. This is by far the most holistic. Every minute you are on the edge of your seat and you're like, this is Spider-Man.
But the difference is because it was animated, I was also like glued. My eyes were glued to the screen.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's something that live action can't ever do.
It is
like,
the only time in a movie theater
beautiful.
I've ever gotten goosebumps watching the studio logos
Oh my
on the
God.
screen.
Hot.
As soon as the studio logo
And the
started showing up
soundtrack.
and they started changing and that like weird like electronic score started like
The Prowler
this is
theme,
going to be
the
insane.
Pro-
Yes!
Oh!
The
Okay,
Prowler
so can I just say
theme
one
is
thing?
so good.
Go ahead.
My favorite movies are movies that I usually go in where my expectations are really low or I have no expectations and it absolutely
That
exceeds
was
them.
this movie.
Because there's a lot of movies I go into, like No Way Home, where I expect to love it, and I do love it. In fact, I like it even a little more. But there's not much growth.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, I went into it, I'm
Just
like,
thinking it was a
I was
cartoon.
like, what is Sony doing? Like, they have Tom Holland MCU. What is the point of this movie? The point of this movie is to show everyone this is actually the best portrayal of the Spider-Man character we've ever seen.
Yes.
It's not even close. This is the perfect iteration of what Spider-Man is.
And
the whole last scene where Miles is like, anyone can wear the mask. You can wear the mask. Anyone can be Spider-Man. If you don't know it, now you do. That is the character.
That is the whole point. Stan Lee has gone on interview, on record, and says the greatest accidental thing about Spider-Man is that his suit is one of the few suits that I ever designed that shows nothing underneath. It shows nothing about who is wearing
he
it.
wears a mask to hide his fear.
He wears a mask to hide his fear, but he says part of it was I wanted him to design like a suit that says I wear the mask to hide my fear, the fact that I'm going into these dangerous situations. But then he realized as he finished drawing the full spandex morph suit that Spider-Man wears, he realized, oh, this is the greatest thing a child can see, because I see just a humanoid figure in this spandex jumping around saving the day. I can imagine that I'm behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine, no matter what I look like, no matter what part of the world I'm from, where I come from, what wealth I have, I can picture myself in the Spider-Man suit. And that is the greatest thing about Spider-Man. It's with great power comes great responsibility, but it's the fact that anyone can have great power and anyone can have that responsibility. That's the message of Spider-Man.
This movie's also the funniest Spider-Man film, and it's not even close. This movie has probably the most gorgeous animation style of any animated movie I've ever seen. I adore.
It's beautiful.
I mean, 2D animation,
It's up there.
obviously. In
It's up there.
terms of 3D animated films, it is by far just like leaps and bounds of everything else, just the way that it's animated. And it does, it pulls double duty in the sense that not only does it nail Miles Morales and immediately makes everyone be like, yes, Miles Morales is awesome. I would love to see more of it.
Miles is better than Peter.
But-
Miles is better than Peter.
The Peter B. Parker character
Oh.
is arguably my favorite Peter Parker portrayal I think I've ever seen. Until No Way Home with Tom Holland. But like even Far From Home and with Homecoming, Peter Parker
More
like
than PS4?
PS4 is another story. That's just like that's like 12 out of 10. The PS4 Spider-Man game, if that was a movie, I'd eat that shit up. But the Spider-Verse though, with Peter B. Parker, it's the first time I've ever seen a truly like adult Peter Parker, because it even says he's been Spider-Man for 22 years. And they got it so right. And the dynamic between the two is perfect. It's so good.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were talking about favorite action sequences in Spider-Man, aside from the ends, one of my favorite Spider-Man action sequences is the fight with Doc Ock in Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And that scene where they had to stealth in,
Yes.
it was so much better than the train scene in Spider-Man.
Okay,
2.
good news. We don't need them on.
Because there's character growth going on and comedy going on while there's great fighting going on. It's probably the best action sequence in all of Spider-Man.
He took a bagel.
It's so much. He took a bagel.
Yeah,
it's so much
good.
fun. It's
Like,
so
how is the
much
train sequence better than
fun? I agree with you.
I wasn't thinking about that.
That
Okay.
stealth sequence is so
I even
great.
like the fight in Aunt May's house.
Oh, that's brilliant too.
Where Spider-Man Noir is like, we don't pick the ballroom, we just dance. Like,
Oh,
it's so
Nick,
good.
Nick Cage was the weirdest choice for Spider Noir, but it was good.
John Mulaney as Spider-Ham.
that
Perfect casting.
That cast was the weirdest lineup ever, but it worked so well.
Spider-Gwen even is really good in this movie.
Oh, this is the best portrayal of Gwen Stacy
yes.
ever.
Yes.
And I love Spider-Gwen. I
Easy.
love Gwen Stacy. I love that character.
This movie, I agree with you. I wouldn't
I love
change
the
a thing.
Prowler.
Yes.
Prowler is genius.
The tightness of this movie, it's just so compact. It's consistently moving.
I would change 0 things.
You know what's one of my favorite things about this movie? The fact that there's so many Spider-Men, it doesn't overwhelm you in the way that it introduces all the characters in that same like way of like, my name is this. I would, like it does that like comic book thing where like
Yes.
it's like, and it makes it funny because it changes every time. Like you expect certain. Oh God, and here's the thing: my parents and my brother all think this movie's good, but they don't think
Some
it's
people
great.
can't wrap their minds around animated films.
And yeah, and here's
Which
the thing:
I don't get that.
here, I'm going to go on a bit of a rant, and this is not me targeting you, Mom, Dad, and Kyle. This is me targeting everybody.
He hates you.
This isn't me targeting
Animation-
you, but this is me targeting.
Animation is not a genre.
No.
Anyone who thinks that animated films are just kids' films
You're
is
wrong.
absolutely incorrect. Animation is an art form. It's a medium. You can do anything with
Right,
it.
and you could do more with comic book characters
Yes.
in animation than you can with
So
live action.
anyone who's like, there were a lot of people who were like, I'm not going to see this movie because it's a cartoon and it's for
Which
kids.
is silly because all the scenes where Spider-Man fights in all the live action films are animated.
Yeah.
It's an animated Spider-Man
That's
that is not
CGI.
Tom Holland.
It's ridiculous how many people dismiss this film. It's just like, it's not. It's animated. It's not.
Yeah.
This
No, people
is
do that with video games as well.
this is by far the best portrayal of what Spider-Man is and the character of it, and it nails Miles Morales. It nails Peter Parker. It gets everything right. I would not change anything about this movie, and I'm happy that the Academy actually got it right for once and gave this movie the Best Animated Feature Academy Award.
Yes.
Because there has never been a more deserving film of the last decade. I could even make the argument that this is my favorite comic book superhero film
Ever. I think it's
of the
best.
2010s.
Yeah. Oh, no, ever.
I wouldn't say ever because I do really like The Dark Knight.
No, this is better than The Dark Knight.
This is better than Dark Knight.
I would change things in The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Dark
like,
Knight's great, but there are
Fantastic.
small things.
Yep. And,
nah,
and I'm a Nolan fanboy.
Now this movie is it's everything.
perfect.
This is the
Just say
only
it.
Spider-Man. It's perfect. This is
Just
the
say
only Spider-Man film where I can watch it every day.
Yep.
Never get bored of it.
Yeah.
And still laugh my ass off every
Yeah.
single time.
And still cry.
And the
still
soundtrack is
cry.
great. The score is great. The animation's great. The voice
The
cast
Leap of
is
Faith
great.
scene is better than...
Oh, the Leap of Faith scene is just
The Leap of Faith scene combined with the speech of anyone can be Spider-Man.
the shot of
I-
And
him.
the soundtrack. All
the-
the
and the
same
sound
time.
and the
The
soundtrack
inverted-
all at the same time.
The inverted shot, goosebumps every time.
I'm not.
Every single time.
I'll admit, I welled up a little bit at the end of this movie. I didn't cry fully.
Spider-Verse?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't
cried.
cry, but I welled up. I had to rub my eyes clean.
The scene when the dad is talking to Miles through the door when Miles is tied up in this because the Spider-Man's tied up,
Yeah.
and the dad's just talking to him.
Very good scene.
Tears.
It hurts in a good way.
This movie is
But
unbelievable.
I will say, like, hearing the speech of anyone can be Spider-Man, because that's what I've known for years watching the Spider-Man movies. Anyone can be Spider-Man. Hearing a Spider-Man say that was chills for me, and that's just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful statement. Anyone can be Spider-Man. But
we gotta get to Far From
we
Home.
gotta get to Far
Which
From
honestly,
Home.
Far From Home might be the one I had the least to say about.
It's
Yeah.
one I far from because it's the most recent. But we got one left. One left. Wait, no, sorry.
Far From Home.
This is Far From Home. And then we have No Way Home. Sorry, I got them mixed up in my head for a second. Sorry, it's late.
Stop putting home in all your titles.
Far From
Home.
Home, kind of, the most forgotten. Like, I'm just like, okay.
My favorite part of this movie.
I won't watch it again.
My favorite part of this movie is watching Peter and MJ start to I like their dynamic, and I like that whole I like her, I like them. That's really strong because we didn't see any of that.
I like the idea of Peter trying to have a life in this.
Yes.
Especially because he's
But
unique.
it's just
good.
It's a very solid Spider-Man movie.
It is.
But
And it's not Iron Man. It's not as much Iron Man.
It's trying to say it's not, but
It
it
starts-
happens
you
here.
You know what's the problem when the best scene in your movie is the post-credit scene?
Ouch.
Ouch.
That's...
I still do not
You're
know.
not wrong.
I still do not know why they didn't make that the end of the movie. Why make that the post-credit scene? That could have been such a good way to end the film.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great film still. It's just kind of like, I'm not going to go rewatch it. It's not very fun.
You know, it was a very, very
The
solid
villain,
Spider-Man
I was
story.
really upset that Mysterio is just a guy with projectors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains.
But it worked, though. You know, he
It worked,
He does the
but
same stuff.
Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains of all time. Like, who is your favorite Spider-Man villain?
Not Mysterio.
Okay.
Of all time?
An answer, not a conjunction.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who is it? Who is the one Spider-Man villain
I
that
always love
that gets you going?
I just like the Hobgoblin or Doc Ock.
Hobgoblin, Doc Ock.
I was going to say Doc Ock, if not
You
him.
like Electro.
I like Electro.
Mysterio is one of those villains for me. Like, I love Doc
Oh,
Ock.
and
Craven's
Craven.
up there.
They need to put him
Doc
in
Ock
the
is
script.
probably
Oh,
second
boy.
place for me, but I really like Mysterio.
Mr.
I like
Negative.
I like that feel to him. I remember playing the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man game as a kid, and I replayed Mysterio's missions so many times. It's just fun.
Yeah. Aside from that, because we have
Seeing that it wasn't magic or
Yeah.
illusions, I was a little sad.
Yeah, it's sad because this one it's a solid Spider-Man movie. Tom Holland's great in it. There's a lot of I like the action sequences with Mysterio and all the
Well, it's
illusions.
solid because there's another theme in this one, which is like, it's continuing, and the third movie really wraps these two up as a great trilogy because he's trying to have a life in this.
Yeah.
He's also trying to avoid consequences, that's where it leads to the end.
Yep.
Mysterio kind of plays him in this, and he's learning. So he's just constantly learning in these movies, which I love. And I didn't like it when I first saw it. That's the case with all these films. But the last one made the other two better. And it's just like watching this arc. I didn't like, again, though, that they're like, you're not the next Iron Man. But then it's like, you're using Stark tech to win the fight. And it's like, stop, please.
Yeah.
Remove
the Tony
like,
Stark.
oh, Tony left you a new suit.
Yeah.
He also has like the Iron Spider thing going on. And I'm like, he's so OP at this point.
I like Tony Stark. I like Iron Man. That arc for Iron Man and Tony over the Marvel Universe is great.
I get why they tried to connect.
I don't need this great thing and my other great thing. Get him out of here. I like lasagna,
But at the end
and
of the
I
movie,
like lobster. I'm not going to put them
Yeah.
together.
But at the
Well,
movie,
you
they're
can.
quite
You get my
literally
point.
saying, you're not Iron Man. But yet he's still using all of Stark's stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm
It's
tired
kind
of
of
seeing
hypocritical
that.
there.
I'm tired of seeing Stark tech on Spider-Man.
But Mysterio was actually good. The sequences with Mysterio were really convincing. I thought it was
They
really
were they were very.
This movie
convincing.
was a big step up in the action department, I think,
Yeah.
because
and
John,
the acting.
I think John,
Oh, yeah.
I think John Watts, who's the director of these movies, I think he was very, very out of his league with Homecoming, which is why kind of easing him in with sort of a high school film where the action sequences are very far and few in between was good. Because in this movie, he definitely was able to come into his own, and a lot of those scenes where Mysterio has all those illusions and he's like tricking Spider-Man, visually they're super, super cool, and I love the scene at the end when all the sound drowns out and he's just using his spider sense, and it's like that dark space, and he's defeating all the drones just by it's really, really well done.
It's one of the best uses of the spider sense.
I
in
loved
movies.
the ending of this movie. I thought they did a really, really good job
Yeah.
with that whole ending action sequence, and then I loved Tom Holland and Zendaya. I think that they are just so good
They're
together.
cute.
This solidified
They feel
Holland
well
as
done.
by far the best. This is
Yes.
like when I knew he
Holland was great in this movie.
I
and
had-
also, this is the first Spider-Man movie to not take place in New York.
Yeah, which was cool. It was fresh.
It was neat.
Yeah, it was.
And
it
if
was really,
anything,
really
it
nice.
almost kind of made me feel a little
I
wistful
still-
for Garfield,
I
saying like, "Oh,
really-
I could have been in London."
The thing is, though, I don't want people to think I don't like this movie. I actually really, really do like this movie. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
I don't have really anything to offer because it's just very solid.
There's
Yeah,
there's nothing like there's not Amazing Spider-Man 2 scenes in here that are like, I want to go rewatch this scene.
Yeah.
But there's also not like Amazing
But there's
Spider-Man
not-
2
the only
scenes in here
scene
that are like,
that
I
I
never want
hate
to watch
this.
this scene.
This
The
is
only
just a
scene
solid movie.
the only
It's not
scenes that I'm like-
fantastic, but it's not bad.
The only scenes that I'm like, I want to watch that again is maybe like parts of the ending with the final fight with Mysterio, and then also the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
That's
That's
I
it.
don't think there's like wow scenes, but I don't think there's any bad scenes.
Yeah, this is just
This
is
movie though
Spider-Man.
did give me one of my big holy shit moments in the theater when J.K. Simmons showed up again in that post-credit scene. I lost my mind.
That was so
I was
cool.
like, oh my god, J.K.
I was-
Simmons.
It's Jerry Jones. It's the best character from the first
Oh, talking
trilogy.
about post-credit scenes, I think Homecoming is one of my favorite.
With
Captain America?
Captain America. So
No, it's I want to talk to you about one of the best skills a soldier can have:
Yep.
patience. Sometimes patience is the key
That's
to
one of
victory.
my
But other times, at least, it's very little. I'm like, this is such a big troll. I love it.
So there's one more.
No Way Home.
no way, we're finally here. So if you haven't ran away now,
Spoilers we are
alert.
not wasting our time.
we're not holding back.
So Daredevil's in this movie.
Which is why it's the best.
Matthew
Daredevil is my
Murdoch is
And
confirmed.
the 3 seconds that he's in this,
are great.
I love it.
I love this. I love
Sean
when
has
I
not
like
seen the
the
Daredevil
shot.
show.
The shot that shows his
I've not,
hand.
and I need to watch it.
You've seen
shot-
it, right?
I saw season 1.
You are
I
both
saw-
fools.
I saw half a season one.
When I rank Daredevil seasons in the MCU, they are all in the top 10.
Which amazes me.
And they are all neck and neck because
'Cause
they
I
are
know your
all
list.
No,
perfect.
my brother loves that show. He's seen it all.
Oh,
and
it's
I-
the best superhero TV show. Live
I don't
action.
really have that much competition.
No, yeah, I'm talking about all the Disney Plus shows
Wow.
that everyone's watching. Stop wasting your time
Go watch
with
Daredevil.
Hawkeye and Captain America. Go watch Daredevil, which is actually perfect.
I gotta watch the
That's
show.
my plea.
Anyhow, I love this. I love the shot though when he catches the
brick.
before
I'm a really good
Spider-Man.
lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer. So
No, one of my favorite VHS tapes I had growing up was Spider-Man versus Daredevil.
Yes.
It was an animated
oh,
short.
it's so good.
And Daredevil obviously would lose that fight every time, but it's so fun to watch.
It's so good.
But
Because I love
he's in
Daredevil.
this movie for about 45 seconds.
But it's great.
But
I've
I actually
never even
was one,
seen all
I
of it.
actually was
Aunt May, way better in this. I'm not just talking because she's hot. She's actually really funny and a great character in
Yeah.
this.
I will say though, this movie, obviously the trailers were very hyped for this movie. I was one of these people where I'm like, okay, so at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, his identity is revealed.
Which I thought was like dumbest mistake MCU's ever made.
But
I was like, what the
I thought
what are
that
you
it was
doing?
going to be one of those things. Like, you remember how Aunt May found out at the end of Homecoming?
Yeah.
But then they just kind of like glossed over it. It's like, oh yeah, we didn't really remember what we had. I thought that they were going to kind of solve that issue off screen. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah.
Because-
No, they made a whole movie out of it.
They made, as soon as the first trailer, I'm like, oh wow, they're making this like the plot. That's good. Because I was
So
worried
good,
they were
yeah.
going to MCU it in the sense of like, oh, we're going to solve this problem off screen and just kind of keep moving on.
Sign on to the Geneva Convention.
No, I think, and I have to
blah,
insert
blah,
this before we even really start to get into it. My take is that this, just like Into the Spider-Verse, I would not change a single line in this film. So therefore, I'm calling it a perfect superhero.
Yes, I agree with you. I'm gonna say I will say this. I didn't say perfect about Spider-Verse, and I don't like using the word perfect.
I've used it twice.
This
in
movie is
sentence.
perfect.
Yeah.
No Way Home is perfect.
Matt will disagree. I mean, you love it, but like, I think it's perfect.
I just think that it really, the first half is very good, but I don't think it's perfect. I just think the first half, it kind of does this trope of like, well, first of all, I don't like how the plot actually gets started. I think it's very silly in the sense that he goes to Doctor Strange and like, instead of actually, like being like talking it out, he just starts doing this thing and messes everything up. It's like, oh, I guess we have a movie now. Like, I feel like it was just very convenient. So that's my one thing. Granted, I know I'm like nitpicking, but like,
What, like that Doctor Strange did that?
not that Doctor Strange did that, but like, you don't think that as soon as Peter would start to like say all these things, Doctor Strange would just be like, okay, wait, hold on, let's actually like talk this through. Because Doctor Strange is very smart. He knows what he's doing.
No, but you can tell he doesn't know what he's doing. With the spell?
Okay, yeah, so then why the hell does he keep... I just think that it was very convenient the way that this movie got going. And then eventually, when the villains are all being captured, it just kind of feels like we're just kind of going through the motions. Like, we're doing, like, different, like, video game levels. Like, oh, gotta capture Electro now. Oh, gotta capture Sandman now.
Yes, but that's so cool because
And
Spider-Man's so used to fighting supervillains now.
And then I didn't think that... I thought the movie kind of grinded to a halt for about 10 minutes when all the villains were hanging out in the apartment.
Oh,
It just
so
felt like...
good.
No, that was so good.
No, I just felt like it was kind of...
Even the villain chemistry in this was
That was
I have
20
told-
years of
Yeah.
nostalgia that worked.
It's watching Endgame, but there was actually more years of build up than there was in Endgame.
Endgame was a 9-10 year thing. This was a 20 year movie in the making.
And it's not though.
It is.
This movie is Tom Holland's movie.
It is, which is why it's better than Endgame, because it has an actual theme.
But you can't
actually Spider-Man.
But you can't say it's a movie 20 years in the making.
But it is. The villains, the characters here are from a movie from 20 years ago.
Spoiler
yeah,
alert,
but that doesn't
is
mean it's. That doesn't mean. Just because you can't say though, I personally don't think that you can now call like all these Spider-Man movies part of one franchise. It's stupid to do that.
No,
it's stupid to do that.
You can't say
No,
that.
but they did that in that genius way where they're not, but they are.
Yeah, so you can't say it's a movie 20 years in the making.
It is paracausally.
You can't say
retro.
No,
this movie is banking off of fan service, but it's in a good way, just like Endgame was.
Right. It's paracausally.
Which is why I think this movie, while it's very good, I compare it to Endgame in the sense that I view it more as a giant fan service hype event that just is like
a carnival
insane.
Ride. Like Scorsese says, I agree with you. However, this one is different and better than Endgame because it's not just a ride; it's also a Tom Holland arc Spider-Man movie.
It feels
what Endgame doesn't have arc.
No, not at all. It's a carnival ride.
This has
really cool stuff happening,
but there's a central feel to it.
But it's not about a character. It's about many.
This is the first Tom Holland Spider-Man film that is a Tom Holland as Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
He's no longer Stark Jr. He's no longer, I'm going to use little Stark to save the day, and
No, he's learned from his last two movies.
He's learned.
Last four.
And he's realized, it's my job. People call me the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The world might not like me right now, but I'm still going to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I'm going to try and fix these villains.
Is so good. Just like Spider-Verses of like, this is my responsibility. I actually loved the May thing.
Yes. With great power comes great responsibility.
This trilogy is really his origin story across 4 movies. 5, if you count Endgame. But he has all these movies that really set up him getting his origin that the other 2 got in like 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I actually love that. Like he's learning from all of his mistakes.
It felt all-encompassing. And
this is the best Spider-Man villain.
The best Spider-Man villain was the first Spider-Man villain we ever got.
But again, I wish we had
Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin.
What do you mean you wish you had more of him? See, I wouldn't change a thing.
He killed May and then he disappeared for 45 minutes.
He disappeared for 30 minutes. But it was necessary to build the suspense.
What did you want him to be doing?
Yeah. Did you want him to stand there and gloat more? Or did you want to see him just circling
the action
Empire
sequence?
State Building?
You know, when we're talking about the best action sequence, his fight with Peter in the skyscraper was choreographed so. After watching Shang-Chi and now this, Marvel's getting their game on of like I can feel the punches.
I can dance on the screen.
Watching Captain America movies like people love the Winter Soldier. The movie's choreography is awful. Like they're not even hitting each other.
No, it's bad.
But when you watch recent films now in Marvel, it's like even in Black Widow, the choreography is so much better. And like William Dafoe feels strong and fast in this.
Yes, and he's scarier than he ever was.
Oh my god!
I was more afraid of this Willem Dafoe than I was of the last one.
By far, I was never scared of William Dafoe in Spider-Man.
Yeah, but now he was terrified.
Funny. He was funny and crazy. In this, he's scary.
I was terrified of the Green Goblin. I loved the chemistry that Doc Ock had with this new Spider-Man. This like kind of snappy. All right, fine, I'll help you because you have control of my arms. Yeah. And then once he gets fixed and cured and he's back to being himself, that friendly kind of like fun uncle attitude that he had of like, what can I do to help you, my boy? Like that's sweet.
Right. You can see a difference in character, which you didn't see in
Spider-Man
2.
And you could see that it's what he would have shown Tobey's Peter if he were there.
Well, yeah, he gets to say hello again, and I like that Garfield and Tobey didn't take over the film.
They were
great compliments to the film.
Yes,
but it wasn't theirs.
They were not the main course. Yeah, the Spider-Men are in this movie. We all know it. We all know it before. They're there. And let me say that the banter scene atop Lady Liberty.
Yeah, all these actors are getting dialogue that was better than what they ever had.
They get real scripts. I yelled in the theater when
Sean was crying this whole film.
I cried. I cried 5 separate times during this film in the theater with an interactive like opening night crowd. I cried twice. Maybe during Endgame. I didn't cry during Infinity War. I didn't cry through any other Marvel movie. No Marvel movie's done it. Into the Spider-Verse had me well up. at the very end with the Spider-Man.
Not as often as this, though. Yeah, I mean,
I
had more emotional moments.
I cried 5 separate times. Like, actual tears went down my face for a couple of minutes.
It was a perfect blend of humor and then seriousness that Marvel usually doesn't touch.
Yes.
It doesn't do well.
And it did it well.
Yeah.
He's yelled.
He's now the greatest MCU character.
I yelled out loud when Garfield hopped through the portal. And even louder when Toby did. Like,
Well, my prediction was that they were just going to be cameos.
I thought they were going to be cameos too, or I thought maybe there was going to be like one scene where they told Peter about like the rooftop scene. Great power comes great responsibility. We've learned it too. I thought that was going to be one scene that were going to be gone. No, they were in the final fight. They were the whole back half of the movie.
Still Holland's film,
but it
where
was
he's like,
Holland's
"Hey, I've been part of a
film.
team, so I'm actually like a little better than you two."
I loved the chemistry of like Tom saying, "Well, what?" Like they're like, "We have no clue how to fight as a team. Like we've never fought. We've only been ourselves." And Tom's Spider-Man goes, "Well, I mean, I don't need to brag, but in this world, I was part of the Avengers." And Toby goes, "Really? That's great. What's that?" Like, and the realization that they're alone. They're just Spider-Men in their universes.
Well, and they showed out the difference between Holland and those two.
It's so cool to see.
Right, and then the end, and really, this is the closest, the most accurate portrayal of Peter Parker ever.
Yes.
Because he's not someone like the other two that is going to just kill his villain. If there's an option, if there's a chance he can help them, he will. And I loved the fight between one of my favorite live action sequences of action was him and Doctor Strange. That was because Doctor Strange action sequences are just cool in general.
That was so great.
So
I'm also a sucker for Doctor
Strange. To see him outsmart Doctor Strange was really cool. Again, each Peter Parker got better at, I think, at showing off that Peter is smart, not just a cool superhero like with superpowers. He's a smart guy. So he does that often in his movies, where he'll use his brains. Ned and MJ were fantastic in this again.
MJ is the best she's ever been.
No, I wouldn't change a thing in this. That's why I have it up there.
Also, the ending scene of Peter almost goes to the dark side for a second, where after seeing Green Goblin injured and laughing in his face once more, he goes to kill him with his own glider.
And him being helped by people that have been there.
And Toby's Peter stops Holland's Peter and takes a stab to the back to do it, and just shows like.
I thought he was dead.
I thought Strange.
I thought he was dead too.
Strange was like, kind of like I'm a hero too, but like, we need to save people faster. It's just seeing Peter being like the better man in that situation, and then obviously Strange like not being angry at the end. He's still a good guy.
Yeah.
And he helps. The ending to this movie is my favorite.
Oh my god, the ending is so good.
Talk about my favorite live-action Spider-Man suit. It's the one that we really don't get to see.
It is.
But
he made the 1960s red and blue scarlet, like the beautiful color scheme.
And this is
is Spider-Man. There he is.
Yeah. And the issues I had with Tom Holland's Spider-Man are fixed. And this is the exact Spider-Man that I've always wanted.
The friendly neighborhood New York Spider-Man.
He's not even an event. Like, the Avengers don't know.
They don't know who he is. They're never gonna go looking for him unless they really accidentally.
I was confused. So the memory, everyone still has memories of Spider-Man. They just don't
know who Spider-Man is,
which is awesome. It's perfect. It fixes everything. And May's
death
was so good and needed.
Oh, I felt when she was hit with the glider. I felt it.
Yeah, and when he ends up in an apartment like the Spider-Man we know at the end. Which fixes all of the
single one-room apartment, rent is due first of every month. New York sprawled out below him, the classic red and blue suit. There he is. There's my Spider-Man.
Yeah.
After all this time. I bawled like a baby, though, when he tried to find MJ and explain to her in the coffee shop that he's Spider-Man and we've known each other. And he just stops. And he realizes it's not my place. Mm-hmm. I love her, but I have to let her go. I bawled like a baby.
Yeah, I saw this as like Endgame level, like cameos and really cool, like really impactful, but also it had that theme that Green Goblin told him about of like you want everything to be perfect with none of the consequences. And
my favorite message of all time.
That scene of him in the rain, like staring at Jonah Jameson's speech. It's like
it's chills.
Damn.
It's chills.
Better than anything we've ever gotten from Peter.
Yes. I also, fun little thing, you and Colleen looked at me like, how the hell did you notice that? The scene...
Okay, no, we saw it again and you're just wrong.
No, there were so many of them.
Tell them what you think you saw.
I saw quite a few of the sprites when Doctor Strange tries to fix a spell at the end, and you can see like the wispy figures approaching. There are so many figures that I picked out. There's a Rhino, there's a Kraven the Hunter, there's a Doc Ock. Yes!
You saw it again.
There's a Kraven the Hunter, there's a Doc Ock, there's a female Doc Ock, definitely a female. There's a Scorpion Tail. I see Kraven the Hunter in his robe and
we've seen it twice. We looked out for the second time.
I saw a few other Spider-Man. I couldn't really lock down who they were, but I saw a few other Spider-esque figures. I saw so many sprites in that couple seconds of shot.
I saw it too.
I haven't seen anything written about it either, so I don't know.
I've seen YouTube videos on it. There are YouTube videos out there of like what you missed.
I am perhaps wrong. That's cool if it was there.
It was. There was very clearly a Kraven the Hunter and a Rhino that I saw. They were the first.
I will say that after credits, I'm very happy that Tom Hardy's Venom is not part of this.
Yeah, I'm glad. But they did leave behind a drop of symbiote.
Which is cool because I don't like Tom Hardy's Venom.
Yeah. Tom Hardy's Venom is not Venom. But that's another story.
Well, and like I'm interested to see like his Morbius part of the MCU. That looks not good.
Morbius is going to be a weird one. Be apprehensive. But look, all in all, No Way Home is perfect. It is everything you want if you are as big a Spider-Man fanatic as I am.
So, Matt, you're on the same page as said from the beginning's pacing. Pretty much? All right.
Yeah. All right. There it is. The Spider-Man films. Now, in true Everything's Fine fashion, we have a little list we're going to get to very shortly. But first and foremost, against my will, I've been dragged back into the ring. It's been a long time, Matt. We have a bloodbath for you guys this evening. And Matt and I are going up against each other just like old times. When was the last time we fought?
Was it Star Wars?
It very well could have been Star Wars. Yeah. Oh, so this
was me.
Yeah. So we're coming since season 1 of this show.
And did Matt win both of those?
Yes,
he has yet to win.
I have yet to win a singular.
Well, Sean, today is your day.
I hope it is.
All right.
Well, no, it's public opinion.
I was whispering to the microphone. All right. So I have the first question for our bloodbath. Now, is this whoever answers first? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, the first question: what is the best one-liner in all of the Spider-Man films?
That's one. Does it have to be by Spider-Man, or does it just be anyone?
That's the best one-liner.
There's so many good answers.
There are. Who will have the better one is the question.
The best one-liner?
Basically just the best line from any Spider-Man movie?
Yeah. That could be a funny one-liner. That could be a cool line. Whatever. Argue your point.
That's a really good question. Sean, I'll let you take this one first.
Oh my god. I'm trying to choose one.
Well, whoever answers first has to explain.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Oh, wow.
By who? Which one? Which one?
Yeah, which one? Who says it?
Raimi's Uncle Ben.
Wow. Raimi's Uncle Ben's great powers.
It's not even close.
I'm gonna go with a controversial one. I'm gonna go with "Here's my mask, put it on" from Garfield, with the kid hanging off the bridge.
All right, well, Matt, you have to explain first.
What? I got a scene you're talking about.
I got a pitch.
Look, all right, I picked this one because I know I'll win. So, with great power comes great responsibility is the essence of the character. It's delivered by the late, great Cliff Robertson in a very endearing scene, a very endearing way. And that movie, in my humble opinion, nails the Uncle Ben Peter dynamic so well, because that speech is gorgeous in the sense of how it's shot, in the sense of what comes before, and especially what comes after, with Uncle Ben then dying, and Peter then realizing, I have this great power, I have my duty to do what is right with this, and my Uncle Ben, it was just perfectly delivered, perfectly done, and I think that's if when you think of Spider-Man, that's the line you think of. So when you talk about best one-liner, it has to be that one, because it is the character. That is what he is, and it was delivered perfectly in that scene, and I think it was just perfectly portrayed. So that is my pick, and I'm interested to see what this answer is.
I know Sean's. I think Sean's answer is good as well.
I don't remember this scene.
So the scene in question is Amazing Spider-Man 1. It is when the Lizard goes on a rampage and throws a bunch of cars off the bridge, and Peter is catching the cars with his webbing and leaving them hanging off the side. However, there's a car that falls where he actually pulls the people out of it, but the little boy of the family is stuck in the car as it's hanging, and the car is on fire. The car is like burning, it's damaged, it's going to explode. And they say, like, Spider-Man, are kids in there? And he drops down, and he punches out the back window, and he looks down, and he's like, hey, kid, you gotta climb up, you gotta come on. And the kid can't do it because he's scared. He's afraid. He doesn't think he can do it. And he's like, come on, kid, you gotta go. Come in. He's like, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And it's the first time it's happened in a Spider-Man movie. He pulls off his mask to just some random stranger, this random kid. He pulls off his mask, and he says, hey, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. Look, me and you, we're the same. Like, we're both just people, all right? You can do this. Here, take my mask, put it on. It'll help you not be afraid. And that is what Stan Lee designed this character to be. He designed Spider-Man, I put on the mask to hide my fear from the things I'm going into. And what is this but that very thing that Stan Lee baked into this character? Great responsibility is the Spider-Man line. But that's Spider-Man. The first and only time that Spider-Man himself carries Stan Lee's mantra of, I wear the mask to hide my fear so that I can help other people. He gives, here, take my mask, put it on, it'll help you not be afraid. And what does the kid do? The kid makes it. He climbs up through the car, and he gets caught with Spider-Man's web, and there he goes. He's saved. And yes, of course, by the time they jump back up on the bridge, Spider-Man's wearing the mask again, because he can't just, have the mask off.
All right.
But there it is.
So what's the one line?
Here,
That's my point. What's the actual
The one line is, here, take my mask, it'll help you not be afraid.
Huh. Mine's so good from Harry in Spider-Man 3.
What is it? Is it just the wink?
Yeah, come on.
It's not even a line.
So good.
It's very good.
All right.
I was very consistent with the time, but it's fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, no one picked anything funny, but... All right, the second question. Now, this is interesting. I'm talking about any Spider-Man from any films. That includes all of them from Spider-Verse. Which of them would win in a fight? So any Spider-Man from all of these films.
Miles Morales.
Ooh, wait, interesting.
Miles Morales. Hands down.
Which of them would win in a fight?
Of course the answer is, like, who the writer writes, but you have to argue your position. So you're saying Miles.
Can I say a Spider-Man from a specific film?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can I pick one from a specific film?
Yeah.
Pick a Spider-Man.
I'm going with Tom Holland from Far From Home.
Okay. So, Sean, you have to go first. Miles.
I've got one little trick on my sleeve for your Stark tech, Mr. Stark. Miles Morales' bioelectricity. That power up his sleeve takes out riot tech. It takes out power cables. It destroys parts of like the machinery they use to travel the Spider-Verse. Stark tech's good, but Miles Morales not only has bioelectricity, invisibility, all the normal Spider-Man powers, but he's also one of the smartest Spider-Men, at least in terms of brain power, and he's got the durability. He's, in a lot of comic runs, tougher than the normal Peter
Film.
Parker.
We're talking about the films here.
I know, well, fair. To pick on...
So you're saying
to
Miles
pick on
from Into the
our...
Spider-Verse.
Yes. I'm gonna champion our Miles Morales from the Spider-Verse. That electricity is crazy powerful in those movies. He's really got the invisibility down. Yes, your Stark tech can probably keep up with him. But that's the thing. You're keeping up with him.
All right, Matt.
Tell me one time he uses it with his own actual power correctly.
The final
Does
fight.
he ever harness that power correctly, and does he ever have full... He
The
realizes...
final fight with Kingpin.
When? When does he ever use his electricity in the final fight?
He shocks a couple of the cables.
All I'm saying is, you picked a person who literally at the end of the movie says, I'm Spider-Man for 2 days. And you're going with that guy over Tom Holland, who has Stark Tech, who defeated the Vulture, who fought Thanos at this point.
He fought Thanos for like 10
and
seconds.
has a mode on his suit called Instant Kill. And there is a scene in Endgame, which is prior to this movie, so I'm taking into account all that's happened prior. Tom Holland Spider-Man has a scene where he is literally surrounded by hundreds of thousands, I mean not hundreds, but a good amount of Chitauri aliens.
They're Chitauri.
And he just goes, activate instant kill! And he kills all of them without lifting a finger.
They're just better humans. That's it. They're not
Tom
super
Holland,
people.
Spider-Man defeated Mysterio. He defeated the Vulture. He already fought Thanos. And
You're
gonna
understand.
you're going to take a guy who's been Spider-Man for 48 hours over a guy that has defeated an alien in space and has had...
He didn't defeat Thanos. Spider-Man did not defeat Thanos. Spider-Man helped almost get the glove off, then was bitch slapped into a pile of rubble.
All I'm saying is you said you're taking Miles Morales into the Spider-Verse, and for 95% of that movie, he is inexperienced. And even at the end of the movie, he's still inexperienced. He still is very, very new to this.
He's very new to this, but the difference is he has the more powerful kit, and yeah, he's proven in that movie.
He has the kit, but can he use it?
I think yes.
You think yes? Because in the movie he...
Well, that's what this is. This is an opinion. I think that if you threw Tom Holland with the Iron Spider suit...
if you said
versus
PS4 Miles Morales at the end of his game,
it's
I
funny.
maybe get it on the side.
The best thing about...
Miles Morales in Spider-Verse is very inexperienced.
The thing, though, is you need the Iron Spider suit.
He has it! What do you mean I need it? I have it! That's all that matters!
Throw him in with the spandex, see how that goes.
That was that.
Alright, I think the answer would have been Tobey Maguire's black suit Spider-Man, but okay.
Oh, that's up there, but I really love Miles Morales.
Number 3, you have to be quick on this one. The best film Spider-Man villain.
Willem Dafoe in No Way Home.
Willem Dafoe in the first Spider-Man.
Oh my God, are you joking? Okay, all right, here we go. So in No Way Home, you even said yourself he's better in this movie than he is in his first movie. So I'm gonna let you argue this. I'm not even gonna say.
Oh, you're
anything.
gonna pass your turn?
Not you. I'm using your argument against you. You literally said he's better in this movie than he is in the first Spider-Man. So I'm gonna let you take this one.
He's really good.
I want to see you I want to see you now play Sean Gymnastics like you have been all fucking episode.
It's like the Green Goblin where
you say one thing. You say one thing, but then Conor says the opposite. You're like, yeah, Conor, absolutely, fuck you, Matt. Your opinion's wrong.
That is not what I am saying.
I want to see you. I want to see you.
Sean has to
like
look
Sean
into
Gymnastics.
I have to look into the helmet of Sean.
I have to look into the helmet of
so
Dark
tell me
Sean.
why what you just said about 20 minutes ago is now incorrect.
Well, first off, because you beat me to it, and second off, here's
so why would you pick the whatever?
Because I like a challenge. So Willem Dafoe in the first one has he's got the campier, the comic book feel, which is for the comic book feel is we came to these movies because they're comic book movies. We want to see those comic book characters. And this Green Goblin definitely feels like he was ripped straight out of Stan Lee's pages. He's got the quirky split personality side. He has the design. He has a good plan. And like we've said, a lot of Spider-Man villains, their plans are bad. This one, he's got the OG original plan. I'm going to make Spider-Man my apprentice, and we are going to take over Oscorp, and we are going to rule New York City as the terrifying duo of the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. He's not trying to kill Peter Parker like 90% of everyone else. He's not trying to shame Peter Parker or ruin Peter Parker just because he thinks it's fun or he's got some little thing to prove about Tony Stark at Mysterio. He is there because he doesn't even want to fight Peter. He goes about it in the weirdest way to get him to recruit.
Why is he better than No Way Home? I know he's good in that movie. Why is he better than No Way Home?
He set in motion the beginnings of Tobey's Spider-Man's arc. See, the realization of I can't just treat this like I have some fun powers. I can't just put myself in danger. I have to think about other people. He starts the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man arc. He realizes that he does more for Spider-Man than he does for himself, but that's the point. He was the first villain, and he creates one of the best Spider-Man.
So I think he's better in No Way Home because this is you say he started Maguire's arc. I personally think Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man in terms of live action. And Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is the first villain to truly challenge this boy. He makes him deal with shit. He kills his aunt, first of all. He kills Aunt May. And he is the first villain that he has to deal with that is okay and kind of actually enjoys murdering people. And Tom Holland has no idea what to do. He is so scary in this movie. One of the most frightening moments in any Spider-Man movie, in fact, might be the most frightening. is when you realize that the Goblin has come back out again, and he then takes up that mantra, and he just fucking bombs the entire apartment. And everyone's just like, oh God, what do we do? He is so frightening. Also, I love when he's Norman. Norman in this movie is actually really compelling because he's like a lost puppy. He's like, I don't know what to do. And he like helps Peter. And it's like, he has a stronger connection with Tom Holland's Peter than I would argue with Tobey's Peter. Like, it was crazy. And this might be a little bit of a cop-out argument. In the first movie, the costume has charm. But let's be real, it's kind of silly. In this movie, I love the look of Green Goblin in this movie.
Oh yes, a baggy green trench coat with some hood, with like a hoodie underneath of it.
I would Willem Dafoe's
Some
face
black
already,
straps.
his look with that, his face and just the way he emotes, he doesn't need a Power Ranger mask.
Well, now you're calling him ugly.
To portray.
That's just me.
I'm not calling him ugly. I'm saying his look is so menacing to begin with that being able to see his face now and see those eyes is so much more intimidating than a Green Power Ranger villain flying around in a CGI costume.
Yes, but we do not forget our source material
Also,
here.
can I
about the costume.
Can I say the actual best argument though? You literally said otherwise 20 minutes ago.
All right.
I lost that round. That's fine.
No.
That's
People
fine.
will decide. All right, this one's going to be interesting. To clarify, you are to choose 2 of the 3 live-action Spider-Man actors.
2 of the 3.
Swap them and into their movies.
So, like, for example, taking Maguire and putting them in the Holland movies.
But you have to defend that they would have the best films. So swapping Tom and
I'm swapping
Maguire.
I'm swapping Garfield and Holland.
I'm swapping Garfield and Tobey.
All right, so Matt, you have to go first.
So Andrew Garfield is actually the best actor of all 3 of these movies in terms of like Garfield, Holland, Maguire, just them as people. Garfield is by far the best actor of the 3. When given the material, he can do the best job, and I think that the Holland trilogy does the best job in terms of writing this character and really giving him stuff to shine in terms of his acting chops. We've seen Tom Holland do a great job, but man, Garfield, we saw in this movie, he's so charismatic with that MCU dialogue. He's so good. He fits right into this universe. It's almost like he was just meant to be here. And I wanted more of him. How good would it be to see him with this MCU writing style? Tom Holland, on the other hand, I wish that this Peter Parker in the Amazing Spider-Man movies had more likability, because the Peter Parker that Garfield was playing was almost way too douchey. And I feel like Tom could have added a bit more charm and a bit more likability, a bit more youth to that character. Would have made him a lot better as a Peter Parker. Spider-Man didn't need any help. Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's pretty good, but Peter Parker needed the help. And I think that Tom Holland would have brought that sort of quality to that character that Garfield couldn't in that universe. And again, you can blame the writing, but Tom Holland could have maybe worked around that because of just his look, his persona, and the way that he goes about that character. So I would swap those 2.
Tobey and Andrew.
Putting Tobey into The Amazing Spider-Man gets rid of douchebag Peter. It gets rid of the worst portrayal of Peter Parker and creates actually a bit of a dork, actually a bit of a individual that you can actually kind of relate to. I think that a lot of the Spider-Man scenes in The Amazing Spider-Man do the best job of Spider-Man on the screen ever. However, they're the worst Peter Parker. Now, if we actually we keep the same script, and we put the Peter Parker that Tobey portrays, that kind of quirky, dopey, I'm a little lost, I'm a little awkward, give him those lines, maybe tweak a few here and there, but largely keep it like 90% the same as the script, the same script that Garfield read. You fix bad Peter Parker, and you give Tobey the chance to be the best Spider-Man that he can be. Conversely, putting Garfield into the original ones, maybe we get a little bit devalue of the quirky Peter. Maybe we lower that Peter just a bit. But if we keep that same script, it's the script that makes that character. The actor just has to carry it a bit better. If we maybe gave Garfield a little bit, like a couple extra hours of some coordination with a director and thinking, play it a little bit like this, like, because Raimi really cared. Raimi isn't going to just say, go do whatever like a Sony producer would, like later with The Amazing Spider-Man. He's going to sit down with Garfield and say, I love this character, and I want you to succeed, and here's everything I know, and here's how I can see it. He's going to take Garfield by the arm and say, "Douchebag Peter, don't know him. We're gonna make you Dork Peter the way it always is because Raimi cares,
and we know Toby can play a good bully.
He can play a good bully. Spider-Man 3 with Garfield. Oh, bully Garfield! Imagine you get nothing good because here's the thing. That's the thing that would fix the problems we have with Garfield's portrayal. Raimi's gonna sit down with him and care and talk. We don't even remember who directed the original movies. Raimi's gonna fix bad Peter, and he's still gonna give him the best Spider-Man.
Nice. All right.
Good arguments.
All right. This one, if just this or that, you have to write this down.
No, you just buzzer beater.
So if Sean says an answer, he gets that one, and I'm forced to defend the other.
All right.
And vice
All right.
I'm bad at these.
You are writing the next Spider-Man, right? A new Spider-Man actor. Is it better for Peter Parker to have natural web shooters or does he make his web shooters?
Makes a web shooter. Judge.
We literally said it at the same time. You know what? I'll concede. You can take it.
Am I taking the next one? All right, fair enough.
It's fine. You can
Throw me a bone.
No one with a natural.
No.
Wow.
Make the web shooters.
Right.
If we're going comic accurate, he does not make his own web. There are very few.
So we don't like that.
There are actually very few Spider-Men that make their own webbing fluid.
All right, next question then.
Wait.
We didn't even defend.
We're defending them.
We're going to defend.
Oh, you're conceding to the... Oh, I thought you were just conceding the question.
He's doing the
No,
other one.
I'm
okay, go ahead.
I'm conceding to defend the
There
other
are
one.
very few Spider-Men that actually create natural webbing fluid. It's just kind of weird. And the ones that do are the way more... Like, I was more affected by the spider bite than anything. Peter Parker got the spider sense, the grippiness of the spider. He got the acrobatics. He got physical enhancements, but he didn't get changes to his DNA. He got augmentations, not DNA rewrites from the spider. That's not what the spider was supposed to do. So, of course, why would he develop glands in his arms to shoot actual, like, natural webbing? That's just wrong and weird. Imagine the problems. Like, there were jokes made about it on the films. Well, God, that can't feel right. No. This not only eliminates a really weird thing about Spider-Man, but, like it says, Peter Parker is, yes, he's dorky, yes, he's immature, but he's also a genius. Peter Parker is one of the smarter superheroes that Stan Lee ever wrote down, and that was at least mortal. He's supposed to design the web shooters because it shows that he's not just Spider-Man because a bug bit him. He's Spider-Man because he has the talents and the know-how to use the tools he is given to help him go into being Spider-Man. It shows what skills he has.
Well, I mean, it's no secret. I literally said the other answer, but I mean, I wanted to throw Sean a bone. So
I did need it.
I said organic web shooters, and it's because he just said this whole argument about how he got all of these other things. Why would he not get webs though? Like, let's be real. Like, I mean, if he got that and he got that, why is that where it draws the line with his powers? I had zero problems with Tobey Maguire having organic web shooters. I know a lot of people did have problems with it, but like, why not? Like, it's not like it ruins the character. I understand you want to see more nerdy side of Peter making the web shooters. Like, he's already making his suit. He's already doing all this other stuff. We don't need another thing to show. Like, I mean, yeah, it helps, but it doesn't make or break the character having to make his own web shooters. He already makes all this other stuff. Why do we have to draw the line at, we also need to see him make web shooters? I had no problem with him having organic web shooters. The only thing with organic web shooters is why would he have to make the hand sign to make it shoot? That's the only thing. But like, again, who cares? I just think it's kind
Muscles.
of, again,
Muscles,
I just think personally, I didn't question it because what's one thing we think about spiders? They have 8 legs. Well, it's not like he's going to grow legs. And they spin, and they spin webs. So, again, why wouldn't spider powers, being bitten by a spider, give you the ability to make webs? That it feels like that's just a natural thing.
Fun fact: there is actually a version of Spider-Man from like one of the different like alternate run comics that had one of his mutations was 4 more arms.
Interesting.
I mean, that would be insanely
but,
powerful.
I mean, again.
He's really broken.
Web shooters, they help, but they're not the make or break it. And organic web shooters, I see absolutely no problem with it. So why not?
I always wonder too how does like poor Spider-Man in an apartment afford to make web shooters?
Also that.
How does he do
Fair.
that?
Also, yeah.
You're poor as hell.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's worry. How many more do we have?
2 more.
2 more?
2 more? Okay.
Number 6. Who is the best supporting character in any Spider-Man film?
Ned.
Leeds.
Matt said a little first.
That's fair. If I can't say Ned, then...
Wow, both of you said Ned? All the films. All the movies.
Yes. If I can't say Ned, best supporting character... I'm going to go... It's Peter B.
It's a good point.
Sorry.
I'm going to go with Peter B.
See, now there's the thing. I understand Peter B. Parker. The reason why I didn't say it is because I just think of them as co-leads, but that's okay. I will concede.
No, I
That's
don't.
a good way to think of it.
I will concede though, because that's a really good answer.
We have
I
Ned.
said Ned because
Spider-Ham.
he truly is a
Spider
supporting.
Noir!
He truly is a supporting character. Like Ned Leeds is actually like the ideal friend. Because I know you love James Franco, but man,
I'm not gonna lie. I almost
that
said
performance
I
is
almost said Harry.
so strange.
Fucking love Harry Osborn.
That portrayal is so strange, and
That's why it's so good.
I know. And then Harry,
I almost said
Harry,
Harry.
and then all the supporting characters in the Amazing Spider-Man. I've been waiting for an on-screen Peter to have a friend that actually feels like he's his best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And Ned and Peter in the MCU feel like they're just naturally
Toby and Harry
just
hate each other.
Such good, yeah.
Yeah.
Ned and Peter, absolutely. Literally, the first scene that they have together, he's asking Peter if he wants to come over and build the Lego Death Star with him.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
That's the best.
That's just Sean and Matt.
That's what I want. That's what I want in my friends.
I've always wanted that exact Lego set.
Ned
too.
is hysterical. Ned's great. He's a perfect addition to this universe. He doesn't step on anyone's toes either. It's not like he's there too much. He's there just enough. He's Peter's guy in the chair in Homecoming. Then in Far From Home, he's on the ground. He's with MJ. He has this other back and forth stuff. And then in No Way Home, I love the trio of Ned, MJ, and Peter. Ned is also hysterical. Love the actor that plays him. Love what they did with that character. And again, they feel like friends. Peter actually has a friend. And it's heartbreaking now that Ned doesn't know who Peter is. But I love that character.
Peter B. Parker. The Peter that we didn't know existed, and the Peter we didn't know was going to exist permanently in our hearts. He's not the main front and center Spider-Man of the Spider-Verse. But what he does after the string of bad luck he has, the divorce, the countless battles he has that leave him kind of feeling like a shell of his former self, he stumbles onto Miles Morales. Just becoming Spider-Man, just learning the ropes, just figuring things out, and he looks and sees not just a new Spider-Man, just some new hero, he sees himself. And he thinks, this is not my fight. This is not this is not my universe. I'm not this Spider-Man. But you know what? If I can make one thing right, if I can do one thing good before I go back and just go back to sitting in the shower in my full uniform, I'm going to make this kid the best Spider-Man that he can be. He's not just a supporting character. He is the leading teacher for one of the most powerful, one of the most well-written, most relatable Spider-Man. This is the Spider-Man that 48 hours after becoming Spider-Man looks into the camera and says anyone can be Spider-Man. Why? Yes, it has much to do with what Miles did on his own and what Gwen pushed him to do, what all of his friends from across the Spider-Verse did, but who was there every step of the way? Who was there that led him on the stealth missions, taught him the rules, showed him how to web swing, showed him the ropes, what it meant to be Spider-Man? It was Peter B. Parker. If Peter B. Parker was not the support that Miles had, Miles would not have realized what we all know deep down inside, and that is anyone can be Spider-Man.
Good shit. Last question?
Last question. And I have to include this in all of my bloodbaths. And preface, my answer to number 6 was Aunt May. My answer to number 7 is Aunt May. Who is the hottest character in any Spider-Man film?
I have 2 answers I really want to say. And I know Matt's not going to say either of them. So
I'll let you go first.
I have a joke answer.
These are in all my bloodbaths.
I have a joke answer, and I have a serious answer. I don't know which one to go.
Which one's going to win either round?
See, that's the problem.
I actually have a really good answer.
We're gonna, you know what? We're gonna have a little bit of comedy tonight.
Okay.
It's Harry.
In which James Franco?
Amazing Spider.
James Franco.
James Franco. I like that answer.
I am going to
We're having fun with this last one.
William Dafoe.
go.
Willem Dafoe. Oh, the Green Goblin mask. It really gets me going.
Mysterio.
What the hell?
Left field, but I like it.
All right, Sean, Harry.
All right, look. I just want to say this. I love the portrayal of Gwen in The Amazing Spider-Man, and Holland's Aunt May is, oh my god.
You say I love the portrayal of Gwen in the sense of physically.
I also no.
That's your implying.
It is whole. It is all. I love Gwen thoroughly, both for looks and for her brains. And Aunt May in the new one is great.
Yep.
But it's Harry.
I agree.
Oh
I love all
my
three
God.
of Sean's answers.
James Franco is a good-looking man, especially back then.
He does this in the movie.
Oh my god! And the
Stickers.
signature wink.
Oh.
I'm sorry. If you melted in the theater when you saw that back in the day, I envy you for seeing that on the theater. I never saw that movie in the theater. I envy anyone who sat in the theater and melted in their seat when James Franco turned around and gave the wink and the smile. He's a good-looking man. He just is, and he carries himself with that. Harry might be a weirdly portrayed character and a goofy son of a bitch, but he's got the smile, the wink, the looks. He's got the money to carry himself through it.
The snowboard.
Before he loses his damn mind in the back half of the second film, I don't know.
After he loses his mind, though, he makes the eggs.
True. He goes the extra mile after he loses his mind. He goes the extra mile after he loses his mind, which is something we appreciate in a lover, someone who goes the extra mile. But there's not a bad moment to ever just, I've never looked, even in his craziest, like, I'm going to kill Spider-Man and he's all I have left. I've never sat there and said, that is a fearsome looking villain. He is a fierce looking villain.
Mysterio, Matt.
So, okay, I understand that Harry Osborn is very attractive. I'm not saying he's not. I almost went with either Andrew Garfield or Tom Holland here.
See, where was that?
Because I was thinking about
Peter
going
B?
Andrew Garfield, but, I, for some reason, find Jake Gyllenhaal with that beard and that physique very attractive.
Revealing things.
I don't know why.
You're not wrong.
It works for me. It hits all the right buttons. That suave demeanor that he carries as the villain, he's never he just has that sort of vibe to him where you just kind of want to get a beer with him, which Peter Parker does, by the way, in the movie. And then that the muscles and everything gets me going. And I'm a sucker for a guy with a beard, so
But the wink melts.
Okay, I will say this though: James Franco in the trilogy is very attractive in Spider-Man 3 specifically. I would say 2. It was longer hair.
He's an innocent golden retriever in the first one.
That's creepy.
You get every side. He's the sweet, kind friend. He's the little bit on a dark path, and then he's the bad boy that goes the extra mile. You get the full arc.
I just think Jake Gyllenhaal in Far From Home, he's one of those people that you hope he's not a villain. So he's one of those guys you just want to be a good guy.
Spider-Ham.
It's sexier to be a villain.
Yeah, and he's a sexy villain, and that's why.
So is Harry.
That's why a lot of the movie his mask is off. So they just want to show off that.
Oh, that's why Harry never got a mask.
Yes, he did.
He had sunglasses and goggles, but you can still
Also-
see that lovely
also-
face.
Spike is
Also,
3D.
Harry
You
Osborn.
can still wink through
Also,
them.
Harry Osborn in the third movie becomes the Phantom of the Opera halfway
And what's wrong with that?
through. It's a little weird.
It's a cool scar. All right, that's it for the bloodbaths.
Excellent. We have one last thing. We're running a little bit long, but we stopped caring about that a while ago.
We can just run through
We
the
have
rankings.
one last thing.
Just like Amazing Spider-Man 2,
We're gonna-
this is too long.
We're gonna run down. I say we just read our list in one go and do a little bit of defense.
Yeah.
So, Connor, would you like to go first?
No defense needed because all my lists are 100% factual.
He likes to think.
My number 9 is Spider-Man 3. Apologize, Matt. I did that just to make Matt sad.
That's rough.
Number 8 is Amazing Spider-Man. Number 7 is Spider-Man. Number 6 is Spider-Man 2.
Oh.
Number 5 is Far From Home. Number 4 is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, hot take. Number 3 is Spider-Man Homecoming. Number 2 is Into the Spider-Verse. And number 1 is No Way Home. Those two are tied.
You have a very interesting list.
Yep.
Matt, do you want to go next?
I'm not here for boring shows.
So ninth place is Amazing Spider-Man, the first one. Right above that would be Spider-Man 3. Then Amazing Spider-Man 2. I was swayed a little bit.
Okay.
Amazing Spider-Man 2 actually does have some pretty good stuff. I will give you that. 6 is Far From Home. 5 is Spider-Man, the first one. 4 is Homecoming. 3 is Spider-Man 2. 2 is No Way Home. And then absolutely number 1 is still Into the Spider-Verse.
So, pull up the list. Bottom of my list is Spider-Man 3. They're, like I said earlier, I love all of these, but I had to put them in order. Bottom of the list is Spider-Man 3. Then it is The Amazing Spider-Man 1, first one. Then it is Spider-Man.
We're the same.
Then it is Homecoming. Then it is Far From Home. They're Iron Man movies. Then it is Spider-Man 2. Then it is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. That high. I just love... Oh, I love it so much. Second place is Spider-Verse, and first is No Way Home.
Sean and I's lists are the same except for Homecoming.
We like Do-Si-Do, a couple of things on ours.
That's it. One. There's one thing.
Oh, really? Is it just one thing?
Homecoming. I just like Homecoming and you don't.
Oh.
Spider-Verse is still my favorite, but I mean, it's not...
listen, Spider-Verse is tied. They're both
If
perfect.
I could put them both at number 1, I would.
Yes.
See, now I wouldn't because I just adore them. There are very few movies on this earth that I just adore as much as that.
We'll see if Across the Spider-Verse will hit that.
I can genuinely
will.
say
It will.
there are 2 movies. 2.
Your expectations are very high now, though.
Hold on. There are 2 movies that within the next 2 years I'm so excited for, and they happen to be coming out 1 year after the other. October 2022 is Across the Spider-Verse, and then October 2023 is Dune Part 2. Those are my 2 movies that I'm most anticipating.
October
in the next
2023 is probably also Across the Spider-Verse Part 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to be nuts. The only other one that comes even remotely close to the hype I have for those is the new Batman.
We're gonna be living at the theater over the next 2 years.
Hopefully.
There's some good movies coming out.
But yeah, Across the Spider-Verse, I'm really excited for, and we hope you enjoyed this Spider-Man episode.
This has been the Spider-Man expose.
Go watch No Way Home, by the way.
Go watch No Way Home. It will make you cry. I cried 5 times.
I didn't cry in it. I just got very emotional.
I just couldn't help myself.
Go watch Spider-Man 3.
And also, if you are still one of those people that is dismissing Spider-Verse, stop being that way.
Grow up.
Matt's family.
No, they've seen it. They just don't like it.
Yeah, but they better like it more.
Just because it was drawn and not acted out with real people does not devalue it. It makes it better.
Yeah, that's another subject on its own. Because,
Sean
and I were talking about Uncharted and The Last of Us being perfect in their animated formats, but
They're really great video games.
the live actions are coming, and we'll see if they can hit that
I
mark.
want to watch Spider-Verse now.
I have to go to work at 8 a.m. and I have to get up at 10 of 7.
Fair enough. All right, well,
I would, but I can't.
we hope you enjoyed our episode on Spider-Man, or on Spiderman, as they say.
Spider-Man.
Just remember, folks, everything is good.
Well, close enough.
Close
Before we
enough.
close it, though, we are back.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Festivus for the rest of us. We are back. We are going to be getting out weekly or maybe some bi-weekly content just in case, but we're not going to go on another hiatus. We are here to stay. We have several episodes planned. We have several things we want to do. Maybe some standard podcast episodes. Maybe some different projects we're going to do in the future. But look out for us. We have more things coming your way. We're back. And we're not going anywhere. We'll finally have time.
That's what Raimi said, too.
Well,
Damn.
maybe we can do one better.
Well, folks, go watch Spider-Man. Enjoy all the movies. And Connor?
I don't remember it.
Okay, well, just remember, folks, no matter how crazy life gets...
Everything is fine.